I am damn excited. Damn excited.
We are so excited to be joining you guys tonight.
Oh!
Well, how you doing, man? Patrick.
Will, Sterling.
Yeah.
Super Bowl champion, two-time Pro Bowler, and Trent Green. Trent Green, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
And he picked it up! He picked it up! He's gonna score!
And we'll see you next week. But until then, as always, go Chiefs. Welcome into the 2026 Arrowhead Addict Chiefs Draft Show. The gang is all here. Well, almost the whole gang. Patrick Allen, Sterling Holmes, the blog father, Adam Best, and the editor-in-chief of arrowheadaddict.com, Matt Connor. We're here in Studio 15. That's it. That's for Patrick Mahomes. And we'll be joined in just a little bit by Christian Ainsworth and our draft expert, Price Carter, over in Studio 87. We've leveled up this year, fellas. We got a fancy draft show this year.
Just because your name is Patrick doesn't mean you need to wear the glasses, man.
I'm wearing the Oakleys. Look, this is the biggest draft in Chiefs history since they drafted Patrick Mahomes. This draft is going to make or break whether or not this dynasty continues. So I'm bringing I'm stepping up. The Chiefs need to step up. Veach needs to step up. I need to step up. And all four of us here, or all six of us here, need to step up and deliver the best damn draft show out there. Sterling Holmes wearing a Cowboy shirt, which is, are you hoping that the Cowboys move up? Is that why it says Cowboy up?
I'm rocking green. Miami, Bane, green. Sign me the hell up. Come on now. That's what it's for. I want to see a little Jared Allen action, wrangling quarterbacks in the backfield. Ruben Bain can do that. Blow for Bain was the motto. It's been blown. The Chiefs blew this year. Now you have to finish. That's what I'm talking about.
I want to go to Matt Connor because I just want to know. He is eyeballs deep in everything that's going on with the Chiefs right now and the Chiefs draft over at arrowheadaddict.com. He's going to be with us through the first pick, since we know that the Chiefs will not be making the first pick in the NFL draft this year no matter what. And then he's got to go work and keep bringing you all the info on the site. But Matt, how are you feeling, man? I want to get your takes here on everything. Maybe we get you back in later when you get a breather after the pick. But I mean, how are you feeling right now about everything? What's happening? What's the latest? What are the rumors?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. I feel like I need to trade down from you guys between the stashes and the shades. I don't know. I don't have it. I don't have anything I'm really rocking over here. That said, I feel very zen. I said this earlier on Twitter. I feel like in previous drafts, I've gotten all in a tizzy about they did get my guy, yes, or they didn't get my guy, no. And the truth is, man, looking at this roster, I know Sterling's all for Bain. That sounds great. I know Adam loves Tyson. Sounds good. I just feel like I'm looking at this roster, both sides of the ball. There is such a need for starter level talent, impact talent to upgrade so many spots. We're talking about total positions as underrated. Linebacker could be underrated. Tackle could be a real, we just throw whole positions out there that would be nice to upgrade as if they're sleeper positions. So I know some fans have things they're rooting for, prospects they love. I just hope we hold on to as many picks as we have in the top 40, because the idea of walking away with the top 40 with 3 starting players sounds great to me. I honestly don't care. I just don't.
Adam Best, you started this website. You've been through a number of Chiefs drafts, covering the team on the website when they were terrible, when drafts were all we had back in the pre-Mahomes era. How are you feeling about this draft? It's weird. We haven't picked this high since Eric Fisher.
This reminds me of the old days when we were clamoring for guys like Mark Sanchez and Michael Crabtree. And man, I've been at this for a minute, so this is not my first rodeo. Speaking of rodeos, but it's just so important. The stakes could not be higher because they are so unlikely to get another top 10 pick during the Mahomes era, unless things go catastrophically wrong. So they really, Sterling's been saying they need to walk away with a McDuffie and a Karlaftis from these first 3 picks. I think that's the minimum. I think that's they have to clear that bar. I have 7 guys that I'd be kind of happy with at 9. The list is Bain, Tyson, Bailey, trading up for Reese. It's going to be very costly, but I'm still okay with it. I'm okay with Styles. I'm okay with Tate. I'm okay with Downs. Anything other than that, to me, is a disaster at 9. They can trade back. Yeah. So they've got like 8 good options. If they pick a tackle or they pick a corner, I think that's going to be very ill-advised and not the way to go.
We got a super chat from our guy, Phantom 1090. He says, the road back to the Super Bowl starts tonight. Work the plan. And a super chat from our pal Raymond Chandler. We appreciate y'all. And all our Arrowhead Addict members. I see Jess Ferris, who's been a member for 30 months in the Ring of Honor level. That's the most prestigious level of the Arrowhead Addict podcast. Says, if the Chiefs draft a tackle tonight, I'm going to walk into oncoming traffic. That's an old Matt Verderam line. But who, by the way, I don't know if he's his New York Knicks are not doing so hot right now against the Atlanta Hawks, I noticed. So if you want to read he's going to do instant draft grades over at si.com. Make sure you check them out, because if the Knicks continue to lose, you'll be able to see the rage start slipping into all of his draft grades. Sterling, what about you, man? How are you feeling about this? Are you excited? Are you nervous? Because this is, I mean, if they get this wrong, right? Like if they blow it, like if this is a catastrophic failure in the first, few picks, this really hurts this team, which only won 6 games last year.
This needs to be a 2022 draft. And yes, you need to leave with a McDuffie, a Karlaftis type of players with your first 2 picks, and then maybe a Leo Chenal with your third, right? If you do that, that's a really good draft. We went through today in that 22 draft specifically on radio and said, how close were the Chiefs, though, to blowing that? Who was the next position? Who was the next player at that position that was drafted? Oh my gosh, the names were astounding. Half the dudes were out of the NFL in 2 years. So Veach, for some of his shortcomings, he has a ton of hits, but this needs to be a draft where you hit. The reason why the Eagles now, the Chiefs have more Super Bowls, more rings than the Eagles in recent years, but the reason why the Eagles can stay where they're at is because they keep drafting, identifying talent, and they've hit on a lot of their early round draft picks. They hit on Jalen Carter. Can the Chiefs hit at pick 9? I'm with you, Matt. Yes, Bain, if I had my druthers, that's the way I go. But there are a lot of holes on this offense. I do feel a little bit like Jess Ferris of, if you draft a tackle at 9, traffic might not stand a chance. I'm going to do my best to injure that car. The car will be fine. I'm the one going down. But at 29, I could understand it. I won't be happy, but I'll acquiesce and say it's fine. To me, again, if I have my druthers, you need to leave the first round with a edge rusher and a wide receiver.
I don't even think that we would. Can I weigh in here, Patrick? Sorry.
Yeah. Go.
Dealer with the poker glasses and shipping up the cards. But, I just, like, we're talking about tackle pretty early. Some of the early chats are like tackle no, and I get it. We wouldn't even be talking about tackle if everyone in the national media wasn't talking about tackle. And it's either one of 2 things, and we're going to find out in a couple hours. It's either the national media is completely off their rocker when it comes to Chiefs coverage and somehow is just making these weird, lazy, throwaway picks and mock drafts that are read by so many, or
that one.
It's going to mean that there's actually some real chatter and that things that the worries that haven't really surfaced publicly yet from Arrowhead about Josh Simmons, and the state of tackle overall, like, we're going to find out in 2 hours. Is there really anything to that? And we'll look back and go, oh, it kind of leaked out at some point that there are some legitimate concerns there, and the Chiefs are covering their bases in terms of protecting their best asset, which is currently coming off a season-ending injury. I get it if that's the case. But on the outside looking in, if it feels like, yeah. Anyway, that's going to be telling. So I get the panic over, like, why would we do the tackle? And we're all looking at the national media going, like, what in the world are they smoking? And the truth is, maybe we don't know. And we're not going to know until those picks are made. And then we'll either laugh at them or point and go, like, there was just something the general public didn't know all along.
Yeah,
to me,
Oh,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
I think that's it, right? Like, if they do it, it's because they're concerned about something that we don't know about. Whether it's they think Jalen Moore's a tire fire, and the draft has opened, by the way, there's a bunch of Steelers on stage reliving their glory days. But I think it's one of those, right? Something's up with Simmons, or they're just really worried about Moore. Shout out to JMC 8203, member for 42 months, says, I'll lay down in the street if they draft a tackle at 9 or trade up from 29 to get one. And a super chat from Can I Pet the Dog says, glad to be with you, fellas. I'd like Keldrick Falk. Adam, I want to get your take on that. And then we should be going to Studio 87 here and bringing our guys, Price and Christian.
Kedrick Falk at 29, I can live with. At 9, I would be catatonic. Here's how I look at the offensive line. 2 All-Pros, first-round pick in Josh Simmons, second-round pick in Kingsley Suamataia, $15 million to Jalen Moore. If Andy Heck and Andy Reid can't make that work, what are we doing here? No team in the league arguably has spent that much resources on their offensive line. And if Jalen Moore, who I'm still not sure he's bad, he didn't play that much last year, maybe they can resurrect him. If that's your weakest link, a lot of teams in the league would trade with the Chiefs with the offensive line they already have. And when it comes to Patrick Mahomes and protecting Patrick Mahomes, there are 2 other things that come into play here. One, an effective running game. Kenneth Walker is going to help a lot. He's going to bring explosive plays to the least explosive offense in the NFL. The other thing is they got to have somebody at the wide receiver position who can beat man coverage, who can get open, who can allow Patrick Mahomes to get rid of the ball faster. So I just don't understand this offensive line thing. I think it would be a sign that Josh Simmons cannot be relied upon. And Patrick, you said it on the show before, that would be an unmitigated disaster if they're already pulling the plug on that project.
Yeah, it really would be. We're bringing in Studio 87 here. Price Carter, Christian Ainsworth from the Intangibles. Price is rocking his all juice team. I think both of these. Christian, do you eat pumpkin pie on draft day as well?
Dude, we forgot about the pumpkin pie.
That's tonight. That's before we snuggle.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Sorry, we're in
It's
a
on
much,
the itinerary.
we're in a much different place. My wife is out of town. Christian and I tonight. He's gonna sleep where my wife sleeps. We're gonna do 2nd and 3rd round mock drafts.
Okay, so who's Diana Rossini and who's Mike Vrabel in this situation?
I'm Mike Vrabel.
I will
I
gladly
called
be
it.
Diana Rossini.
Okay, all right.
I will
Good
gladly
Lord.
be Diana.
Did you say he's going to sleep where your wife sleeps?
Well, don't say it like that, okay?
I'm
You
just
said
saying.
it like
My
that.
wife sleeps in bed with me, so you might. I'm giving you a chance to clarify. I don't want you to end up on page 6.
As long as we're together, Fred.
That's what matters.
Yeah, that's what matters.
I want to get y'all's take on the offensive line debate as we wait for, I don't know how long they're going to drag out the pick of Fernando Mendoza, but everybody is catatonic, want to walk into traffic if the Chiefs draft a tackle. Are you both on the same page as that?
Yeah, I think for me, I think 9 is just not a good place to do it if they want to do it. You look at the guys who are available. I've made this analogy about a dozen times at this point this week, but taking the top tackle in this class is not taking the top tackle in other classes. It's the difference between being the richest man in town. Well, if you live in Lee Summit, that's one thing. It's another thing if you live in Hollywood. Just because you're Maui Noah or Fano doesn't mean you're Joe Wall or Penei Sewell. So if they're hell-bent on taking a tackle, I think they're going to have to trade up from 29 and get the back end of that tackle run, whether it be Blake Miller from Clemson, Maxi Honicher out of Arizona State. And look, I can understand it a little bit, trying to get out ahead of a need. Good teams do that. They do get out ahead of a need. And I understand the need for depth, whether it be lingering concerns around Josh Simmons or just the unknown of Jalen Moore at right tackle. But they're going to have to get aggressive if they want to do it, because 9 just does not feel like the place to do it.
Okay. What about all the rumors about the Chiefs trading up potentially for Arvell Reese? That's the name that's being thrown around. Are you guys on board with this? Is this a good idea? Because it's 9-3 is the rumors are the Cardinals at 3, right? 9-3 is it's a jump. It's an expensive jump depending on which trade chart you looked at. You're going to have to give up quite a bit, maybe even number 29.
Well, so Arvell Reese is kind of interesting because that is not typically the type of player that they go for at the edge position, right? He's kind of an off-ball guy. He has some power, but he's really the bendy sort of Micah Parsons-esque pass rusher of this draft class. So it'd be very, very surprising if they were to do that. Now, I think I could speak for Price here. It's a no-go from both of us. Yeah, not the type of guy we want playing edge for Spagnuolo for sure.
You know why? You know why the Chiefs don't go? Because he's good. Because he wins quick. You like that? He's like Micah Parsons. Yeah, the Chiefs like, no, give us a guy who only sets the edge. Come on.
Some technical difficulties there. The pick is in. The pick is in. The pick is in. And to nobody's surprise, the Las Vegas Raiders, Oakland Raiders, wherever the hell they play now.
Clelin Ferrell.
right. Darius Hayward Bay going to the Raiders.
Alex Leatherwood.
Oh, God. Oh, look. I mean, this guy, he's a heck of a player. Fernando Mendoza goes to the Raiders. We'll see how he fares as a pro. But if you're a Raiders fan, I mean, this has got to be the most exciting that you've been since, I don't know when. John Madden was the coach. Price, Christian, do you guys believe in Mendoza? Is he going to be worth the number 1 overall pick in the draft?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things to like about Mendoza, especially with the infrastructure he's being brought into with Clint Kubiak, with what he's done to uplift Derek Carr when he was healthy in New Orleans, and then with Sam Darnold. And you love Mendoza's size, 6'6", 243. He's a big guy, big physical presence. He can run around quite a bit. And I think the translation to the NFL for him isn't going to be as easy as some of these other guys we've seen. There's a lot of RPO based in their offense. I think he's going into some infrastructure that'll benefit him, whether it be Kirk Cousins there. You love the intangibles between, coming back in that Oregon game after he throws that pick 6, lean him down to have that game-winning touchdown against Penn State, gets injured in the Ohio State games, pop backs up, back in the next play. His mom has MS, and he takes her to games, and, really, like, he's staying home for the draft today to be with his mom because it's better for her health and her mobility. So I love the player. I think if he was in last year's class, I think it'd be probably a toss-up between him and Cam Ward for pick 1. He may not be every class's 1-1, but I certainly think he's the 1-1 in this class.
All right, listen, we got to get Matt Connor out of here. He's got to go do his editorial duties because the Chiefs could make a move. And at this point now, it's in play. If they're going to trade up to 3, we could hear about that soon. So, Matt, any parting words for the addicts out there? Hopefully we can get you back in a little bit later to get your reaction on things. But before you go, anything to give heart to the kingdom out there?
No, I just think it's going to be a great draft. I think everyone in our Arrowhead has recalibrated for this offseason. They've all said it. We wanted the kind of moves they've made already in free agency with the coaching staff changes. I think we've all looked at them and gone, yes, that's what I wanted to see. I wanted to see that upgrade. I wanted to see new hires. I wanted to see some admission that we needed some new things. And then they've prepared for this draft in the same way. So I feel very confident in the job that Veach is going to do. And look forward to seeing it.
All right, that's Matt Connor, editor-in-chief of Arrowhead Addict. Make sure you are on the website along with watching the YouTube channel here so you can get all of the action and the inside details and analysis. All right. So, fellas, now the draft begins. Really, it's now open officially here with the Jets on the clock. This is open. This is open for anybody. This is a conversational show. It's not as presentational as maybe some of our other shows. How's everyone feeling about the Jets? Are they gonna do something that the Jets would do here? Or are they gonna make a smart pick?
Well, here's the thing. In any given draft, you normally have to account for Raiders and Jets. Well, they don't really have a chance to bleep up this time around. Like, the Raiders couldn't bleep this one up unless they went with someone else. The Jets have at least 3 guys they can go from, and I think all 3 will make a lot of sense. I imagine it's going to be Bailey here. That would be my my best guess. By the way, I do love the 8 instead of 10-minute counters. That's been a huge benefit for us. But yeah, I think 3 is really when you start seeing the trade possibilities come in. I think the Jets stay and they take Bailey.
It sounds like they might pick Bailey because of Aaron Glenn, and I think Aaron Glenn is a lame duck. And the point there is maybe Reese doesn't fit the system as well or whatever. So I just think like he's probably not going to be here anywhere near as long as this player. Go get the franchise cornerstone. Go get the guy that's more likely. So, guys, I'm not sure this is a Jets-proof draft. I'm not sure any draft is a Jets-proof draft.
No,
yeah,
it's
I mean,
not.
for me, I think like this is obviously pretty integral part to the draft for the Chiefs. If any of this smoke about them being interested in Arvell Reese, this is where it starts right here with David Bailey. And I also think like whether it be the Chiefs or another team, like if they do take Bailey, teams are going to come knocking at pick 3, which is where the Cardinals went out of, right? Like they're probably going to take an offensive lineman. They can get that guy 9, 10, 11, 12, honestly. As for the players, like I understand the desire for Bailey with the speed. You know exactly what you're getting. And he's kind of, I want to say scheme-proof, but you know what you're getting. He's more of a sure thing. Whereas Reese, there's some questions about what he projects to be. You got to have a project for him. I just think if you're the Jets, like you're not considering Aaron Glenn in this. You're not considering the current players on your roster. This is a pick you're making for 28, 29, 30. And to me, the player that seems to has the highest ceiling in those areas is going to be Arvell Reese.
I think you could also make an argument for wide receiver here. I know they have Garrett Wilson, but outside of that, like Adonai Mitchell, we loved him coming out of the draft a few years ago, but he has not lived up to expectations. So you could see Cardinal Tate here too. I think that would be another great pick. But again, this is the Jets, man. Like this could be anything.
And the pick is in. Let's see who it's gonna be.
I have a secret dream of I want a pass rusher. I think that's the move. But for the Chiefs. But I have a secret dream of Cardinal Tate playing for the Kansas State Chiefs. I'm an Ohio State guy. His floor is so high. I want Mahomes to have a reliable, non-idiot receiver for the rest of his prime. And I'm not sold on Xavier Worthy yet. But I think that later in the draft, there are more wide receiver options for the Chiefs. And it is David Bailey. David Bailey is going to the New York Jets. How are we feeling? Was this expected, fellas?
Yes. This was exactly what I thought. David Bailey to the Jets. It made sense. Didn't he have the graphic where he had 31 teams on it with no, 31 teams with no Jets on it? I think that was a little bit of a tell earlier on today. I think now pick 3 is when it gets interesting because I think Arizona is either going to go with Reese or is it going to be a trade? I think that's really what we're looking at with Arizona. They do have some holes, but they do need to get that defense, especially get a pass rush going. So I think this next pick's the one that's going to be the most intriguing. But yeah, to me, David Bailey at 2, this was more or less what I thought.
Man, I just got real nervous all of a sudden because if Arvell Reese goes there, you kind of prevent the Chiefs from potentially shooting themselves in the foot and, overspending the trade up to 3. And now that's in play. And I'm with Price and Christian. I don't want them to do this. I think the price is too steep. They have too many holes. There are a lot of good pass rushers in this class. I would rather see them stay put at 9 or just do a little hop skip up to 6, 7, 8 to get a Ruben Bain.
Intangibles. What are we thinking here on David Bailey?
Yeah, somebody I really like for the Chiefs, honestly. You talked about like having somebody who can win one-on-one pass rushing reps. Like David Bailey was that guy. He had the most sacks, highest production of any defensive end in the draft, and it showed on tape. Like he was very athletic, very bendy, had some power. We equated him, or at least my comp for him was like a better version of Mike Dana, like somebody who kind of plays above his weight class, still has some power, but is a little bit more bendy. Would have loved to see him fall to 9, but we all knew that wasn't going to happen, right?
Yeah, I'm not quite as sold on David Bailey as far as his ability to bend. I think his primary tool is speed. He's just faster than everyone. I mean, he's got some really impressive reps of being able to jump off the edge and those RPO screens. He's able to jump out there and get out there and break those up with just his quick first step. The sack production is obviously really enticing. He's got a lot of traits, a lot of tools. I also wonder about that defensive line with Romello Height, Lee Hunter. He had some help. What's it going to look like where he doesn't have all that help? But I just wonder about the fit with the Chiefs. I'm not sure that he would be able to be a true 3-down player and the Chiefs defense for what they ask against their guys against the run.
All right, excellent analysis as always from the Intangibles. We're going to let these guys refresh their drinks. We're going to bring them back in just a little bit as we continue to wait and see what the Kansas City Chiefs do. This is the moment. If they are trying to trade up, this is what we were hearing was Arvell Reese, 3 to the Cardinals. If they don't take Arvell Reese, I'm looking at Twitter. I'm not seeing anything. Obviously, there's a delay on the TV. There's nothing out there. There's nothing out there. But I would look again, Ohio State guy. I'd be excited about Arvell Reese. My argument for it, okay, is, and this has been my argument all draft season. If you're Brett Veach and Andy Reid, that this guy's you have to believe that they are a blue chip, like a potential Hall of Famer to make this move and give up the capital that you're going to give up. I do think Arvell Reese could be that guy. I don't think he scratched the surface of what he's capable of at Ohio State. He's incredibly versatile. You could pretty much have him do anything. He can cover. He can rush the passer. He can run into a 300-pound tackle and just bounce right off of them and make, and penetrate and make the tackle. And I think you get him into a system, and a lot of people say, well, they don't like his versatility. What about the versatility? I think you get him in and you figure out exactly what you want him to do. And maybe you play a little bit of jazz with him, but I think he could end up being one of the better pass rushers in the league if that's what they want him to do. I don't think they're going to go up and get him, but I think whoever does take Arvell Reese is going to be very, very glad they did.
Do we need to get you to recuse yourself from Ohio State analysis?
I want them all. All the Buckeyes.
Draft them all. Here's what I think Arvell Reese would have to be for what they pay to get up there. He might not need to be Micah Parsons, but he would have to be damn close. He would have to be like 80% of Micah Parsons. And that's if they get a discount because of this draft class. That is a huge bet. You are making a huge bet. I don't have that kind of confidence in any player in this draft.
I will say this: Arizona might be gun shy because of the fact. By the way, the pick is in. We'll see who it is and what happens. But it says pick is in. After Isaiah Simmons, do they get gun shy because of a similar style of player? Now, I do think that Simmons didn't really have a position that he could fall back on. I think Arvell Reese does have a couple positions he can't fall back on. And again, I think just now where we're at in the NFL, obviously Micah Parsons, you see what he can do. I think teams more are apt to take on that sort of risk. I guess for me, I would have been okay if it's Arvell Reese because I do think he's that much of a difference maker. Take the Ohio State out of it for Patrick. I think he is that good, but you're right. It probably would be too rich of a trade up. I know Brett Veach is aggressive, but he talked a lot leading into this of maybe pumping the brakes and trying to be a little more patient. So we'll have to figure that out. But for Arizona, a lot of ways they could go. Pick is in. I am intrigued to see how this plays out.
Yeah, so they made their pick. And it makes me wonder why the smoke around the Chiefs moving up for Reese.
Wow. Pick is in. Surprise. Run game.
It's Jeremiah Love. I saw tweets that this could happen. That they may go with Jeremiah Love if David Bailey was off the board. Look, man, I mean, this team has a lot of needs, the Cardinals, right? But a lot of people think this is the best player in the draft, in Jeremiah Love.
Have they learned nothing from the Raiders? What did the Raiders do when they got Ashton Genty last year? That was also a difference-making running back. And what happened? Did they get instantly better? No, they got worse. They had the number 1 draft pick this year. I get it. Yeah. I get it. He's a great player. But if you're Arizona, you have a plethora of holes. A running back trying to shoot through the holes would be great, but you can't even open those holes up for him. I don't understand this at all. I think he's a great player, but man, for Arizona specifically, at least Tennessee has their quarterback in place with Cam Ward. At least that way you would try to help. I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't understand this.
They have some depth at running back, too. It's not their biggest problem. They signed Tyler Algier in the offseason. They still have Trey Benson. I mean, this is obviously a sign that they don't feel good about Trey Benson, that they don't feel good about James Conner coming back to full health. I mean, they must only feel good about Tyler Algier. But man, when you are doing basically a hard reset for a franchise in the post Kyler Murray era, I don't think the place you start for a cornerstone is the running back position. That's kind of the cherry on top of the sundae, not the sundae.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not the time to take this. It sounds like they wanted to get out. My guess is their philosophy was, we get a trade we're comfortable with and we get out. That would be preferable. And if we don't, we're going to take the best player on our board. And this was the best player on their board. I think it's a bad idea, though.
I'll say this as well. I do wonder if they did try to trade back and there were no takers, the 8-minute clock versus 10, that is going to be a little bit of a tight situation. There's less and less back and forth. It's going to be probably final best right then and there, and we have to get to the next team to see if they're interested or not. It's great for the fans. I love it, but this is what it's going to cause. I do think some of the trades might be a little more difficult. I know it's 2 minutes, but that's what, a fifth of the time. I mean, that's a fifth gone of the time you had to try and decide.
Well, maybe this resets the market. Maybe Arizona was asking for too much, and maybe now it's been established that it is not a seller's market. It is a buyer's market, and that could benefit the Chiefs.
Well, now this is interesting because Tennessee had been getting mocked very late with Jeremiah Love, right? That had been, it was, Love to originally it was KC, and then he moved up to New Orleans. And then a lot of that, with the ones that I've seen, he moved up to Tennessee. And if he was not going to Arizona, I saw a smattering of those, but it really felt like Tennessee was the team to take Love. Now I do wonder where Tennessee goes. Do they try and protect Cam Ward? That would be preferable. If they drafted a tackle, that would help KC out tremendously here, right? That would be ideal. They obviously need some wide receivers to bring in, but this is, again, a little shakeup happening early on in the draft.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know. If they take a tackle, which I think would be a smart move, they could go wide receiver here, right? Get him some weapons. If the tackles start to go now, the Chiefs, if this has all been a big smoke screen to get teams to want to get in front of them to get tackles, then starting that tackle run now, maybe it benefits the Chiefs a little bit because teams start looking at the Saints, right? They start looking at Washington. They start looking at Cleveland. There's reports that Cleveland wants to get out of number 6. And they say, hey, we got to get up there because the run on tackle started early and we've got to get in front of Kansas City because we know they want to tackle. The Browns supposedly want to tackle as well, but they could move back a little bit. Veach said he thinks the run is basically gonna be through like pick 20 on like the big time tackles. And then there's some depth a little bit later to that till about pick 35. And then there's a fall off. So this is a really pivotal pick here with Tennessee. I bet they'd like to move back if they could. But my worry here is that the run on wide receivers starts. And if your team pass rush, that's a good thing for the Chiefs. But if you would like a wide receiver like I'm interested in, well, if Carnell Tate goes here, you got teams behind here that want. Oh, and are we running it?
Pick is in.
We're waiting for the confirmation from producer Joanne, but
it looks like a wide receiver.
Yes, it is. We got to work on our timing with the graphic. It is Carnell Tate going to the Titans. I'm a little sad. I need to grieve. You guys talk.
The Tennessee Titans, huh?
Well, I'm happy because the two guys I want the most, Reuben Bain and the guy that I think is wide receiver 1. I know we disagree on that, but Jordan Tyson's still on the board. And man, I mean, who would have thought that Arvell Reese would have been here at 5? This makes the proposition of trading up to get him a little bit more feasible if you're the Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean, now you're looking at, okay.
Not 29. You're not looking at 29 anymore, are you?
No, and I think you have the Giants and the Browns up next. And I've got my little cheat sheet here, okay? So good fits for the Giants. Jordan Tyson, who they're apparently in on. They supposedly had dinner with him. Jeremiah Love would have been a fit for them. He's gone. Sonny Styles and Caleb Downs. So in Cleveland needs everything, right? They need a tackle. They would have been in on Tate, Maui Noah's Proctor, like all these tackles, and also Jordan Tyson. So I think what we could be seeing, you're right, Adam. I mean, Arvell Reese could slide down here. If he slides down to number 6, like let's say the Giants are enamored with Jordan Tyson, and they
or Sonny Styles, right?
Or Sonny Styles, right? But like let's say for the sake of argument, they're in on Tyson. They want to go ultra offense, right? They're gonna pair Cam Scadaboo and Jackson Dart, Malik Neighbors, and then they're gonna get Jordan Tyson and try to make sure their young quarterback succeeds. Now you're to the Browns, and according to the Rich Hill trade chart, if you're Kansas City, you could move up. Maybe you could move up to number 6 for a 3rd round pick. And if you're Cleveland, I mean, you have so many needs. Why wouldn't you take it? As we bring in the intangibles here, as things are starting to get spicy, fellas.
I looked for really quick. I looked for a sticky note. That's why I got up. So I was going to put trade up right here, but I couldn't find a sticky note. So I apologize.
Christian and Price from the Intangibles here to give us. What do you think about Tate going here? Is this a surprise for you guys?
I love the draft. I love it. I can't get enough. I'm in heaven. This is what it's for. Laughing at the Cardinals for having James Conner, Tyler Algier, Jeremiah Love, a million needs to take a running back, and then Cardinal Tate at 4. Baby. Here's the thing. I do like the fit. I mean, Cam Ward throws a really great deep ball. They've got some nice. They're kind of like sacrificial X with Io Manor out there. They got DK out of the slot. This is shocking. Not just for it being Tate, but 2 teams passing on Arvell Reese and Styles. Like I felt like Styles was leader in the clubhouse here at pick 4. This is where it gets really interesting. This is what it's all about, boys. Like this is cinema.
Christian, if I know you guys said you weren't in on the Chiefs trading up for Reese, but if he's there at 6, I think both of you guys are Team Bane. But like if you were picking between them, does it start to get more palatable? Would you rather have Reese if you could pick between both?
I think you have to have a plan. I think if Spagnuolo has a plan and a vision for Arvell Reese, then 100% I'm behind it. It becomes interesting. But this would be like I was saying earlier. This is a 180 on traits for players.
And so the Giants might just take Reese too. I mean, they have a lot of defensive needs. His ability to play hybrid is something that will be appealing to them. And
I'm just going to interrupt you real quick, Price, because Pretty Ricky, everybody's favorite dog, I have alert set up. He says Reese is going to the Giants. Just you could please continue, but it's Pretty Ricky. He says it's done.
It's one of those things that might be for the best, honestly. Like I know that the traits and stuff are really exciting with him, and there's a lot of upside there to really be. But this is not just some Sherlock thing. It's not some guaranteed idea. You have to take him in and have a plan for him. He's one of the youngest players in the draft. Him out in space is special. What he can do on the ball, off the ball, all those type of things are really exciting. But at the end of the day, this player you got to take and have a plan with, and that might not be the best thing for the Chiefs. And them trading up, it's not just the player, it's also giving up draft capital, which is something that they need every bit of. By the way, Reese, Abdul Carter, Kayvon Thibodeau, Brian Burns, they don't have sexy Dexy, but I mean, man, that's a really exciting front.
That's where I thought Sonny Styles would have been more in play for that team. I thought Sonny Styles almost made more sense for the Giants specifically, but there we go. Arvell Reese, edge, Ohio State, heading to New York. That is a filthy group as far as getting after the quarterback.
Yeah.
That's all I can do, but that part's filthy.
Well, I'm glad we played them last year, so we get some time off from going against that defense. Adam, you like this move for the Giants?
Oh, I don't know. They've allocated a lot of resources to that front, pass rush. And you got to wonder if Kayvon Thibodeau suddenly becomes available now. That becomes an interesting name, kind of like Chase Young for a reclamation project, right?
Chiefs
are trading up. Let's go. Going to number 6.
This has got to be Bane, right? Bane or Tyson?
It has to be. It's Bane.
It's Bane or Tyson.
If it's not Bane, oh my gosh, I need to get
the compensation.
I need to get my drinks. Let me get my drinks.
We know the Browns need tackle and wide receiver.
They pick 9, 74, and 148. So they give up a 5th, their 3rd round, and 9.
Damn.
They kept their 29 though. They keep 29 and 40.
That's big.
That's per field Yates, by the way.
Huge.
That's okay as long as they get it right. I don't. 148. It's 148. They had what 3 5th-round picks. So this is what we thought the cost might be per the Rich Show trade chart. A third. Their third is gone. You got to get this one right if you're the Chiefs. So let's get our predictions on who it's going to be. Is it Tyson? Is it Bane? Sterling, let's start with you.
Bane. Okay. Bane.
Intangibles. Who we got?
I'll throw out a name just because we haven't talked about him yet. Jermod McCoy. Like, this is my number 1 cornerback in the draft. He was elite in 2024. I know he missed a whole year due to injury, but this guy, like, his 2024 tape when he was 20 years old was better than Mansour Delane's in 2025. So that would be a legit talent as well.
Yeah, this has been the spot all along that we felt that this made the most sense, right? Whether it be for Bane. I mean, I don't want to rule out that it could be Sonny Styles, that they just view him as a one-of-one linebacker prospect that can play next to Nick Bolton this year and eventually take over the green dot. And I also think this could be a Jordan Tyson spot. They're trying to get ahead of the Saints and the Commanders, who both have similar needs. I certainly don't. I don't think this will be a tackle because of where they are in the draft and the people ahead of them.
I'm that Tom Cruise. No. That's the meme I am right now for Spencer Fano. Please do not do this to us.
I would be so sad. Let it be known, Price, you're on radio with me. Who said that the Chiefs are trading up to 6 or 7 for Bane?
We have the pick. With the 6th overall pick in the NFL draft, the Kansas City Chiefs select Mansour Delane, the cornerback out of LSU.
Oh, Adam's going to walk into traffic. Oh, man.
Look, guys,
fellas.
This probably just tells you that the Commanders or the Saints were going to take him. This is the best corner in the class. Had an impeccable 2024-2025 season. This is a set in forget it corner pick. I love the player. I don't know if I love the trade up, but this does not surprise me that they took Delane. Look, the reason why people don't like Delane as the pick is because they think that the Chiefs have a money printing machine when it comes to cornerback. The best cornerback they drafted was at pick 21 in the first round. First round top 10 corners don't miss. Like, historically,
Jeff Okudah sure didn't miss. Jeff Okudah sure was an absolute
hit.
On.
That was injuries, though.
Go on. Keep going.
No, dude. I mean, like, the Chiefs have a competitive advantage at corner. They can actually draft and develop talent there. They have zero ability to draft and identify talent at edge. This is the one chance you can get a guy that you do set and forget that's actually talented, and they blew it. You blew for Bane all year long, and you couldn't finish. This, to me, is absurd. This is a panic move. And even, I do think McCoy may have been the better corner overall, and I think you could get him at 29. I am flabbergasted at this right now. This didn't even cross my mind. This, to me, is asinine. I am irked, and you give up draft capital for this. I do not understand. He's going to be a good player. I don't argue that he is a good player. I don't think he's going to be this insane game changer. This is not what the Chiefs need. Right now, FAU or Ashton Gelati is your starting edge rusher. What are we doing here?
We talked about this a little bit, though, that what is the gap between Reuben Bane and Zion Young, Akeem Messidor, Keldrick Folk? It may not be as wide as we think. And I would just wait to see what happens on the back end of this first. If it's a tackle or something like that, then we can talk. But to get the best corner in the class and a guy that I think is a really good corner prospect overall, who can get up there and press and be physical at the line of scrimmage, who just had absolute shutdown coverage this year, technically fundamentally sound. I don't love the trade up, but I would have been okay if this is pick 9. I would have loved it at pick 9. I don't hate it. The trade up surprised me a little bit. But I'm just going to hold my water until I see what they do a little bit later.
I got to be honest, guys. This is worse than my worst case scenario. It just is. I'm having a hard time not freaking the fuck out right now because if you look at where they picked Snead and Ward after pick 130, they got Noel Williams at 85. Travarius Ward was an undrafted free agent. Even Mike Hughes off the scrap pile, Bashad Breeland have come in. Kendall Fuller, they've played meaningful snaps in the secondary. They kind of are a money printing machine now. Dave Merritt is in a little bit of hot water. Like as of today, maybe that has something to do with it. I probably don't think so. But the thing with Trent McDuffie, you made a good point, but Trent McDuffie fell in the draft. Trent McDuffie should have been picked at pick 10. He went at pick 21. This feels like a reach. This is higher than Delane was basically on anybody's board. They're trading up to get him. And I have no confidence in their ability to find edges at 29. They haven't really been able to do it consistently at the end of the first round. The last time they picked an edge there, it was FAU, right? Even their wide receiver in that range, Xavier Worthy, does not look like a hit right now for a first round receiver. So it's just, I know the Chiefs can find cornerback talent later in the draft. I do not know that they can draft these other positions that they are going to have to draft. Now, maybe this says that they feel better about FAU and Ashton Gelati than we do. Maybe they do. I don't know how they possibly could. Maybe they feel better about their receivers than we do. They probably do, and I think they're probably delusional in that regard.
Here's the pick, guys. I don't know if we've hit the picks yet. The pick is Chiefs get 6, Browns get 9, 74, and 148.
Let me ask you guys this: is there something you don't like about Mansour Delane, the player? Like not the.
No, I told you that. I've already said that. I said I think he's going to be a good corner. I was content.
Value over replacement. That's all it is.
Yeah, I mean, you give 3 picks, basically. I guess 2 extra picks to get him. Why at that point?
He'd have been there. He'd have been there.
What are we?
He probably wouldn't have been there if they're going up to get him. I mean, we have to give them at least that much credit. That if they jumped up, that they probably had some intel that was saying one of these teams, New Orleans or Washington, were going to, or somebody else was trying to jump them. You know, someone else was trying to move up to get a corner. Possibly the same thing that happened with Kyer Elam and the Bills later in the first round years ago. Possibly that's what happened. I don't think they would have traded up just for shits and giggles, you know?
I love the idea that the Chiefs got the best corner in the draft. Like that's awesome. And they certainly, it's a massive position of need because they gutted their entire defensive back room this offseason. So like when you look at it like that, all of this makes a ton of sense. What I hate about it is that and again, they must know something I don't. I thought he would be there at 9 for sure. And he can only guard one person. Like that's it. He can only guard one person and he can't guard them forever. This team could not get a pass rush at all. They couldn't do it. So
what is that contraption?
Are you drinking out of a dragon?
Yeah, I'm drinking a dragon right now.
Okay.
It's Emperor Napoleon brandy because I'm mad. I'm mad at myself for believing the Chiefs would do something smart.
In the last 10 years, here are cornerbacks that have been drafted in the top 10. Jalen Ramsey, Denzel Ward, Jeff Okudah, J.C. Horn, Sauce Gardner, Derek Stingley, and now Mansour Delane. So 90%.
How many of those guys?
He better not be Jeff Okudah or Brett Veach is losing his job. That's what this means.
Yeah, this is your chance. I just will not comprehend how poorly the Chiefs have drafted at edge and wide receiver even. You have a chance to potentially get a game changer at one of those positions that you struggle to identify and draft. And again, to your point, Mansour Delane can take away one guy, but an edge rusher can affect the entire defense. We've seen that time and time again. We saw what happened with the Falcons last year. The Falcons had good cornerbacks, but what happened when they didn't have a pass rush? They were 2 scoops of ass. What did they do last year? In the first round, 2 edge rushers. That defense immediately became good. We went from like the lowest sacks, the last in sacks, to what? Second? Behind only the Broncos last year? Erroneous on all accounts.
Man, pick 7 is in, and now that I know both the guys I want are going to be there at 9, it hurts infinitely worse.
Yeah, I mean, so Sonny Styles is going to the Washington Commanders.
Great player.
There's corners. Like there's a lot of corners. Like they pick, like there's guys available at 29 and there's guys available at 40. That's
74
the thing,
even.
right? that's the thing for me is just the pass rushing need is so great. And I mean, look, this must mean that they do not believe in Bane, right? Because if you like all things being equal, right? If you think Bane and Delane are two great players, isn't the sensible thing when you've got Chris Jones coming to the end of his career, George Karlaftis kind of know what he is, and you couldn't get to the quarterback last year blitzing? Wouldn't you take Bane if all things were equal?
Yes, you had great corners last year. Is he going to be better than McDuffie? And the defense still couldn't get. I mean, like, well, again, it makes zero philosophical sense. You had incredible corners last year. The defense still couldn't get off the field on third down. What are we doing?
I think the thing we have to do is like step back here and realize Ruben Bane could be slipping. This could be a league-wide statement that they don't view him as highly as maybe we do. I'm not saying that's happening for sure, but we're at 8 and he's still on the board, and the Chiefs just basically punted on the chance to draft him, possibly if Jordan Tyson or someone else goes here. I guess the question is, when it comes to edge or receiver, could the Chiefs trade up again, or is that now off the table because you
traded 74 and 148?
I know. I feel like
trade up again.
They've already unloaded their ammunition, right?
Dude, I would be. I feel bad because it's not that I don't think Mansour Delane's a good player, right? So I do want to get that off because again, It's going to sound like I don't. No, I think he's a good player. Like I think we all agree he's a good player. Just to me, if you are the Chiefs specifically, this makes no sense. This almost makes less sense than tackle. I mean, I don't think so necessarily, but it's in the same ballpark. Again, I feel bad because I think he's going to have a lot of people upset, and it's not his fault, and it's not that we don't think he's a good player, right? And I think that's what makes it so difficult because sometimes they draft guys and you're like, yeah, we don't think he's any good. We think that it's absurd. It's not that we don't think he's good. It's that for the Chiefs specifically, we thought they were going to get a game-changing edge or maybe a wide receiver, and they went with a position that has not been a problem for Kansas City for about 20 years.
Well, they don't believe in paying corners, but now it's clear that they believe in drafting them highly. So philosophically, all they really did here was reallocate what they would have paid Jalen Watson and particularly Trent McDuffie to other positions, right?
In 358 covered snaps last year, Mansour Delane allowed 13 receptions for a bad LSU team whose season was mostly over very quickly in the SEC. I would just come back to this. If you could copy and paste Mansour Delane's career and make it Trent McDuffie's career, he has the exact same career arc. Would you be satisfied with him as the pick at pick 6?
Of course, but I think that also includes the fact that you would be getting the trade compensation back. That is such a hard thing to predict. You're predicting him to be a all-pro. I don't even – Bane didn't have to be an all-pro. If he was just simply a guy who got 8 to 10-ish sacks a year, you know how much difference that makes for this Chiefs defense? Like, Christian Fulton looked serviceable last year. He's going to be – like, he did. Noah Williams as a rookie looked good last year. As a fourth-rounder yet again – third-rounder yet again. Like, the Chiefs have shown every ability to draft, identify, and make corners work. That was not the issue. We know the issue. It was edge and to an extent wide receiver. They had a chance to get a blue chip player at that position. They didn't do it. And if Spags is going to say arms and all of that, you better hope that Bane's a bust. If Bane's a bust, it makes us all better.
Well, if you're a team wide receiver, Jordan Tyson is going to the New Orleans Saints at number 8.
Tyler Shuck's about to ball with him and Chris Olave, man. He's about to tear it up. I have a question about Delane. Is this the guy that breaks the cycle and gets a second contract in the secondary for the Chiefs?
No.
No way.
No. McDuffie was an all-pro. McDuffie was a top 5 corner in the
right
NFL.
There, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
I mean, fiscally, it does. You're getting an all-pro, potentially all-pro player for a rookie contract. That's what everybody looks for in the draft. But again, I mean, he's got to be that.
But to use your only top 10 pick, and it might end up being a like almost 2 decades span in between when we got Mahomes and when Mahomes retires on a position you won't extend or resign. I don't know when you could have an edge for 10 years, when you could have a receiver for 10 years, when you could have a tackle for maybe 12 years. It just seems kind of short-sighted to me.
For me, I just personally wouldn't measure a draft pick success about how willing they are to sign a second contract in the city. Because
even in the top 10?
Yeah, because, I mean, that's a totally separate thing. I mean, if this player is demanding some sort of insane contract, or you, like, you know, for instance, with McDuffie, there was debate, are you paying him as a slot corner, are you playing him as an outside guy? That's something 4 or 5 years into their career. If you can bring Mansour, and I agree, the standard we're setting here is high of him being a Pro Bowl, all-pro player. But if he comes in and plays at that level for 4 or 5 years at cost control, and you're able to flip him for more picks like they were able to do successfully, I consider that an effective value move.
That is just such a bold thing to say. That the McDuffie was perfect. And by the way, that also wasn't at pick 6.
Were you saying that after the Cowboys game with George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb carving him up?
Oh, so he had a bad game. He's had, 4 bad games in his entire Chiefs career? I mean, dudes have bad games.
He also stayed healthy. We don't know that Delane will stay healthy. If he doesn't stay healthy,
I think you're misunderstanding. I don't think he's a bad player. I think he's a really solid player. The issue I have is positional for Kansas City. This is a road, and it's a trade up. You give him another top 100 pick, a top 75 pick.
They could have got a corner at 74, in my opinion. That would have been good enough given the SPAG system. I mean, it is pretty easy to be a boundary corner in the SPAG system as long as you are frisky and long and can run in a straight line. Like, it's not like it's a very corner-friendly system. I don't think they need this level of player back there.
This is the opposite of trusting in Spags and Dave Merritt, which the Dave Merritt situation, not great, but still. The point remains, this is the opposite of trusting in Spags and Dave Merritt. This is the thing that they're best at. Like, help them with the team's weakness.
Let me ask you,
But Caleb Downs, that makes more sense to me. Like, they're not as good at finding safeties. Like, what the hell?
Yes. Let me ask you guys a question. What to be worth the 9th pick, or the 6th pick, to give up the 3rd round pick, everything the Chiefs gave up to get him, what kind of career does he have to have in your view?
Darrelle Revis. He has to be Revis Island, in my opinion.
Literally, he would have to be prime Jalen Ramsey, Darrelle Revis, and that's why it's unfair, because I don't necessarily think that's too much to put on a guy. I think he's going to be a really, really good player, but this can't miss. Like, of all picks that Brett Veach has ever had, this one cannot miss. He legitimately has to be an all-pro. He legit has to be a starter game 1, week 1, this upcoming season. He has to be a dude. That's a lot of pressure to put on a guy.
So would you say the same thing about Ruben Bain if he was the selection year? Like, would he have to have an all-pro? No, he will.
No, because the Chiefs can't find edge rushers. It's about value over replacement.
It's the value over replacement is the complete perfect way of saying that. No, if he was a, let's say, I don't know, who would be a good guy, 8 sack a year guy? Almost a little better than Karlaftis, obviously better than Karlaftis, but I'm not saying he has to be J.J. Watt. Like, I'm not saying. The Chiefs don't have a starter on the opposite side of Karlaftis right now. It legit is FAU or Gelati. They had starters at corner. We know they can develop and identify. Do you think that now at pick 29, pick 40, you don't have 74 anymore, that guy's going to come in and be a starting edge rusher on this team?
Well, if you only need a guy to get 8 sacks or 6 sacks or 7 around that area, there are a few guys that are going to be available later in the draft that fit the Chiefs perfectly. I mean, like TJ Parker, the dude from Clemson, he will probably be there at pick 29. If not, maybe just a little bit higher. You trade up 2 picks, that's basically nothing. That would be a guy who could come in and give you 80% of what you're projecting or what you would want Ruben Bain to produce for you. So I just think if you're looking at value here, we're saying it's bad because we're getting an all-pro potentially player at pick 9 or pick 6 at cornerback. instead of a guy who gets 8 sacks. That just doesn't make sense to me.
I think what makes sense about it is the Chiefs have the capability to find this guy at 85. They have the capability of finding a L'Jarius Sneed, who's a Pro Bowl player, on day 3. So I think Delane's going to be better than those guys, but the gap, I don't know. So now they put themselves in a position where they basically have to get TJ Parker, Zion Young, Gabe Akis, one of those guys, or like, and without pick 74, there are some guys that are no longer an option to the Chiefs at edge. So I know this is a deep class, but they put a lot of pressure on themselves to succeed where they failed in the past.
Didn't we all agree that wide receiver and edge were the 2 most important positions in the first round? I think we all pretty much agreed with that assessment. Well, now you can't take one of those. That takes it away. There's no more.
Maybe not.
Well, you can't get Casey Concepcion. You can't get Omar
They could
Cooper.
do TJ Parker and Chris Bell, maybe Intangibles guys. Is that something they could do?
Yeah. I mean, to the idea that the Chiefs just got fleeced in this trade, and according to the Draft Tech calculator, the Chiefs gave up 1,602 points. They received 1,600 points. So it was almost a net neutral. And if we're sitting here talking about this draft class and pick 74 is the thing that makes or breaks this pick for you, like I think people would have been upset if this is pick 9. Like, and I'll just disagree that the
more
Chiefs
palatable. Palatable for sure. If it was 9, I wouldn't have been thrilled. But I said the same thing. I would say it's fine. But the trade up is what really gets me.
For me, for this pick to be successful, he just needs to be, that Pro Bowl type of. I won't say all pro because that's pretty lofty expectations, but he needs to come in, be a starter right away, be a dependable player, a blue chip type of player, a guy that you're just like set in and forget he's an outside corner. And I'm not worried about a second contract because that's a whole separate thing with the agent and the cap structure and what the value of is at that position at the time. But they locked in the best cornerback in the class, a cornerback that I think stacks up well against some other ones. And like I said, top 10 corners have been a pretty safe pick here in the last 10 years. And I don't know, like I'm just having a hard time being upset about it until I see what else they do. Now, if they go do something silly at pick 29 and 40, then there's some reasons to be concerned because I do agree that edge was a bigger need and wide receiver was a bigger need. But we've talked about the depth of this class. Given the concerns around Jamad McCoy and his knee, I don't necessarily think that there was this super big, depth at cornerback. And I'll be surprised if they're done at corner anyways. Like I still won't be shocked if they go get a slot only guy or a hybrid guy like a Jalen Kilgore or someone who can play in the box at safety and then mix into the slot as well too. So I agree. It's an incomplete right now for me.
Hey, look, I want to ask Sterling. I'm going to ask you play a little game with you, okay, Sterling? So I'm going to ask you Delane or, okay, because I'm going to rattle off some guys here and tell me if you could go back in time and redo this, who would you rather have? Okay, so Delane
and just
or
include the
Sonny
trade up or no?
Yeah, same situation. They were at 6. These are guys they could have had. Delane or Sonny Styles?
Honestly, probably Styles.
Delane or Jordan Tyson?
Probably Jordan Tyson. Again, I don't want the trade up. The trade up is the major issue for me too.
Yeah, even if it's at 9, Delane, obviously Reuben Bain, Delane or Caleb Downs.
I probably thought I'm going into the draft. I said Caleb Downs.
Okay, Delane or Kenyon Sadiq.
Delane.
Okay. So that's what about Delane or Mekhi Lemon?
I'd go Monster Delane.
Okay.
Again,
Adam,
I don't even like Lemon. He's my wide receiver 4, but I would have gone.
Okay.
I would have gone Lemon here just because it's a philosophical thing with me. It's a game theory thing with me. It's nothing to do with Mansour Delane. Frankly, I mean, I watched a lot of players. I didn't really even watch Mansour Delane because I didn't even think the Chiefs would. Good call on Christian mentioning a corner as a possibility. This was not even on my radar. I am completely shocked because philosophically, this tells us that maybe the Chiefs aren't who we thought they were when it comes to how they approach the draft in the second.
And we let them off the hook.
I would have taken Sadiq too. I know that would have been a reach, but I also don't have confidence that they're going to be able to find Travis Kelce's successor because Noah Gray is what he is. He had a disappointing year last year. Jared Wiley looks like he's not going to happen. Brittingstool, I mean, I don't know how you can possibly count on him becoming a thing. So at least they would have had a shot to find the next guy. And I know this is a deep tight end class, so I'm not freaking out about that. But yeah, nothing against Delane. I'm sure Delane is going to be a day one starter and a good player. Like, we're going to get over this and forget about where he was picked. And he'll be on the field next year, and I'm sure he'll be really fun to watch, and he'll make us forget about Jalen Watson and Trip McDuffie in short order. And you know, like, I mean, hopefully he'll be the next Dale Carter in Kansas City. So
I want to get to the intangibles really quickly here for reactions on the last two picks. The Browns take Spencer Fano out of Utah, and then Francis Malinois goes to Miami. So the run on tackles has begun. Fellas, how do you see this run on tackles affecting the rest of the drafts and maybe shockwaves back to the Chiefs at 29?
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense for both teams. I mean, I think, Maui Noah can go in there for the Giants and play guard next to Luminor and kick outside once he's gone, or maybe he competes at right tackle right away. The Browns' offensive line right now is basically just the cast-offs of every other team. They basically had to replace their whole offensive line. I don't necessarily think that Fano did kick over to the left side on run sides. In fact, he used to play on the left side before they got Lomu, and then he kicked over to the right side. So it makes sense for both those teams. I think both those teams needed to just stack players. I think the Arvell Reese, Maui Noah stack is pretty nice for the Giants there. That feels like a John Harbaugh draft where we're just getting better in the trenches. Try to lift up that team by getting better physically. And the Browns just need good players, man. And, Spencer Fano is that. And that's the type of player that makes sense for them, where it's like, hey, he's going to be one of our best five. We're not sure where there. This reeks of like Peter Skoronski back when the Titans took him. Like, we're not sure he's going to stick at tackle, but he's a good player. So that makes sense. As far as the rest of the draft goes, it's tough to tell because we still haven't seen a true pure tackle come off the board like a Caden Proctor or a Monroe Freeling. When those guys start to go, like I feel like that's coming up here with the Lions looming. I think the Dolphins are probably kicking themselves right now because I think they would have liked both of those players to fall to them. But Downs is still on the board, which is a little surprising, as is Bain. We've got the two wide receivers off the board there, and I think this is where we can start talking a little bit about whether it be Mekhi Lemon as well too, maybe Kenyon Sadiq, and I think the tackles are going to start coming off the board here quickly.
All right, we're going to give the intangibles a breather. Thank you for all the great analysis, fellas. I'm glad they were here to talk the three of us off the ledge a little bit. Yeah, man. Look, we're seeing, I think Adam said it, right? We're seeing a little bit of a referendum on Bain here. We just are. The arm length thing freaks people out. It freaks people out because of the lack of success guys with his arm length have had. That has to be it. That doesn't mean somebody's not going to jump. I mean, Dallas is sitting there, right? They need pass rush help. I just think that this was I don't think they needed to trade up. Maybe they're.
I'm trying to wrap my head.
Maybe the Browns called them and they said, "We know you guys are interested in the pick. So and so wants to come up." And Brett Veach freaked out because they wanted to get their guy.
I assume the Cowboys, if we're being honest, the Cowboys were the real team, the only team that was, I think, really intrigued by that high of Monster Delane. I mean, they obviously need cornerback help in a big, big way. And so that's the most likely scenario is they probably called and the Chiefs said, what do we have to do to beat it? All right, you have 74 throwing 148. That'll get you there.
I think this is also a referendum on Jermod McCoy's knee and what they think of the other corners in this class. They must really not like. I know Brett Veach said something about the corner depth in this class that didn't make it sound great, but if they think this is the only shutdown corner in the entire draft, I suppose it makes sense. It just seems like you're really. I don't know. They're one of the greatest. I mean, Brett Veach and this front office as a unit, their single best trait to date during this entire era has been identifying secondary talent later than other teams can. I think they are best in class at doing that. And Sterling said it earlier, you are willingly surrendering that competitive advantage by doing that. So you must feel very highly about this player. But the other thing I want to say is not just Ruben Bain, it might be them not being comfortable with Jordan Tyson's injury history too. So this might have just been the only player they felt was a really safe pick. Maybe I'm trying to wrap my head around it, and I'm thinking Brett Veach is looking at the board and saying, I don't like anybody here except Mansour Delane. Mansour Delane is the only guy that I think is going to be a Pro Bowler or an All-Pro 4 years from now. So even though that plays against, the way we should approach this, given our strengths, the worst thing we can do is bust here.
Yeah, and I mean, look, he's a great fit for Spag's scheme. He can do everything. He could be very, 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 very good for this team. And they put themselves in this position because they traded Trent McDuffie. They let everyone else walk. And as much as maybe you like the guys that are still on the team, I wasn't feeling super great about it. We all knew they were going to have to take a corner at some point or another. I think it's just frustrating to a lot of Chiefs fans that you trade away an all-pro corner and then you trade up to get to get hopefully an all-pro corner. And I know they're not the same guy, and McDuffie had some limitations, but that's what's so maddening when like they're a potential, right? Sonny Styles could be an all-time prospect. His athletic profile is insane. Right. Caleb Downs might be the best player in the draft. Like those two guys were on the board, right? Like, and so if you don't like Bain, then you're saying that these other positions aren't as important to us as the cornerback position. And that's that. And it's just frustrating to see them trade up. It just really, it's maddening because they have a lot of needs.
The other thought I had was, what if this is a Clark Hunt thing? Like they just didn't want to pay Trent McDuffie and they got to keep their money down. And this was just a cheaper way to have a similar player. That is what's haunting me right now.
Well, no, again, I understand the thought process of, okay, you're not keeping McDuffie. It's not necessarily mutually exclusive, right? I don't think it has to be, 1 for 1, because is McDuffie probably the better player year one? Yeah. I think we can all probably agree he'll be the better player year one, current McDuffie. But you weren't going to pay him that much money. So you are saving, $22 million a year almost? I mean, yeah, it's a large sum to be saving. That aspect, I don't argue. I mean, you are saving a lot of money in that regard.
As long as they spend it somewhere else, I don't care. But they need to spend it,
But again, the point I keep making, I think there could be some disconnect. It looks like the Dallas Cowboys are going with Caleb Downs at 11. So Caleb Downs at 11 to the Dallas Cowboys, which also makes sense for them. They needed a lot of secondary help. This helps them there. I still think the Cowboys would have been the team that the Chiefs would have been trying to trade up for to get Mansour Delane. Okay, so that out of the disregard that, but it doesn't go to the fact that I don't think he's a good player, that I don't think Mansour Delane is going to be a really good corner. It goes to the fact that that's the only position the Chiefs have drafted, identified late, and have hit on consistently. They've not done that with edge or wide receiver. So why would I believe that later on, all of a sudden, now it's going to be different? Why would now be different? They haven't shown us that. They've shown us with corner. You had an opportunity at edge or wide receiver to say, hey, I know we've been bad in the past, but it's because we draft late. It's because we're always drafting late in the first round. We can't get those guys. Well, you had your chance this time, and you didn't do it.
I got to get to a super chat. I'm sorry, Adam. Can I pet the dog? Says, all my years as a Chiefs fan, 26, there is one thing I will never doubt. Spags. Since he's been the defensive coordinator, he's always guided us in the right direction. That maybe makes me feel a little bit better. I have all the confidence in the world in Spags. Just to keep you guys updated on what's going on the draft. The Cowboys traded up to pick 11 with the Miami Dolphins. They moved up just one spot to select. Caleb Downs, safety, Ohio State, is going to the Cowboys. I want to throw up. I just like here's the thing. I actually think Caleb Downs is a better fit for Spag's system. I know he's safety, but man, this dude can do everything. Spags could have moved him around like the ultimate chess piece. And I always say this about corners. It drives me a little crazy. Like they can only guard one guy. So, when you go out there and you're facing Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, or you're facing the Cowboys and you got to deal with George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb, great. Mansour Delane's out there going toe-to-toe with CeeDee Lamb. He's still going to get some, right? He's not going to totally shut him down. But then you got George Pickens going out there. It's just like, I would have liked them to have taken Jordan Tyson, because if they believe in that guy, I know there are injury concerns, right? Patrick Mahomes, Rashee Rice is leaving. Like, they are not. I would be shocked if they're going to re-sign him. And if he doesn't, the guy still has to go to prison, for God's sake. Xavier Worthy right now has the first 2 years career of McCole Hardman. I know you've heard me say this, Adam, and I know he was injured, and I hope that it doesn't keep going the route of McCole Hardman, but that's what you got so far from him, period. Look at the stats. They're exactly the same. So I don't feel great. Actually, I don't feel good at all about the wide receiver position. Travis Kelce is at best going to be as good as he was last year. Rashee Rice is a knucklehead, and Xavier Worthy right now is McCole Hardman. So you damn well better hope he takes the leap, because you had a chance to get a guy who many think is the best wide receiver in this draft and pair him up with Patrick Mahomes for the rest of Patrick Mahomes' prime. And this offense has been anemic. So great, you got the best corner in the draft. I want to ask you guys, are the Chiefs, now they've gotten Mansour Delane, are they any better than they were last year?
No.
No, but I want to add one thing to what Sterling was saying earlier about their inability to draft other positions later. Now that I've thought about it, I would have rather had them pick a tackle at 9, because when they've taken stabs at tackle in round 2 and 3, and Kingsley Suamataia, Lucas Niang, and Wanye Morris, they have missed. Now Kingsley they salvaged, right? Because he's moved to guard. But I don't know, like, what other positions do we have faith in them drafting in the rest of the draft? Maybe linebacker, maybe running back.
Yeah, they drafted Clyde in the first. I mean, I don't know, man. It's been, again, the hard part is I think he's good. I think he's a good player. It's just not what the Chiefs needed. It's not. We saw what the defense looked like with McDuffie and Jalen Watson last year. We all agree cornerback wasn't the issue. It's edge. It was wide receiver.
And you can have Dale Carter and James Hasty back there, but if you can't get after the quarterback, they're eventually going to lose. And Patrick is right. It is a weak link system. So they better really believe in Noel Williams to make this secondary work. And those safeties, I think we have some questions. I like Gilman, Connor and Hicks. I don't know. I don't know if we can count on those guys. So you passed up Jordan Tyson. You passed up Sonny Styles. You passed up Caleb Downs. I mean, what if one of those guys is a Hall of Famer? I think one of those guys easily could be, especially Styles and Downs. And I happen to think Jordan Tyson is the best receiver in this class. I see a lot of Garrett Wilson, a lot of CeeDee Lamb in him. So the cost to do this, not just in terms of the draft capital surrendered, but the players they passed up. And take Ruben Bain, who's sliding off the board, and just think about those 3 players they passed up, and the tackles, if that's your flavor. It's not mine, but it is some people's.
All right, we're going to take a quick break while I drink some more of the hard stuff to cope, and we'll be back in just a minute. Hang with us.
The NBA playoffs are finally here, and Underdogs is hands down one of the most fun ways to get in on the action. It's super simple. Just pick whether your favorite player is going to go higher or lower on their score, and boom, you are instantly in the game. This week, I've been really liking Chet Holmgren. That Oklahoma City Thunder offense is rampant. It's running over. So I like Chet Holmgren higher on his rebounds and points combined together. Get in on the action on Underdog and use our promo code Arrowhead Addict. That's all one word to get $50 off. Again, that's promo code Arrowhead Addict, all one word, to get $50 in extra bonus bets via Underdog Fantasy. Must be 18 years or older, 19 years plus in Alabama, Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-MY-RESET or 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.npcgambling.org. 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342. New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY to 467-369.
We are back here at the Arrowhead Addict Draft Show. Sterling, what do you got, man?
Real quick here. I understand that some people, they're frustrated saying, why are you guys just no positivity? It's not that we don't think he's a good player. It's a multitude of factors. But also, our job, at least my job, is not to just sit and say every pick is great. My job is not just to say, yay, everybody gets oranges and Veach has never missed. Because he has missed. He missed on Breland Speaks. He missed on, CEH, FAU. FAU. He's not perfect. And so when we see things that we don't find perfect, I didn't like the CEH pick. I like the Lucas Niang pick. I'll be wrong. I'll be wrong again. But again, the point is, my job is not to sit here and say everything is perfect. Again, I think he's going to be a really talented cornerback. But the Chiefs had very talented cornerbacks for a long time. That is just not the issue of this team. If you want to help Patrick out, yeah, you can help him out by having better defenses. We saw that in New England for a long time with Tom Brady. Having a win scoring 25 points versus 40 points is different. We do have breaking news here. Ty Simpson, quarterback, Alabama, going pick 13. We're waiting on the Dolphins. We don't know who the Dolphins got, but it looks like we have Ty Simpson, Alabama.
Is that Sean McVay and the Rams? Yeah.
Going at pick 13.
Wow. That is shocking. Absolutely shocking.
Good for the Chiefs, though, right? He wasn't expected to jump into the first round, so.
There were the hope was that they were saying from the Ty Simpson camp was they were hoping maybe, he could get into the back of the first round. This is a shocking pick. Look, the Rams planning for the future. Matthew Stafford is about to turn into dust, and they really believe in this guy, and they better be right on that one. But it pushes good players back to the Chiefs. And look, I want to echo what Sterling was saying here, though, getting back to the Delane pick. I think all three of us think he's going to be a really good player. Like, we're excited that he's on the Chiefs. We think he's going to be really good. It fills a massive need for this team. It's just that the opportunity cost, which Adam has mentioned a couple times now, that high, plus the trade, there were other really good players potentially available who maybe have a higher ceiling than Mansour Delane. And for me, if we couldn't get a pass rusher, I wanted to try to get a top receiver for Patrick Mahomes. So we can get out of this like Sky Moore spin cycle, trying to find a nugget of gold at the end of the first round or in the second round. You have your best chance of winning is Patrick Mahomes. He is the best quarterback in the league and maybe ever when he hangs up his cleats. And you keep asking him to play, hero ball with Rent-A-Cop wide receivers. Like, it's just, Jordan Tyson went where he went, right? Why did he go that high? It's because NFL teams believe he's really, 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 really good. And you couldn't get Caleb, you couldn't get Carnell Tate. I get it. But it's like, what about Patrick Mahomes? Because now you're back there at 29, and now maybe there's a guy they love. And if they're right, like let's say they take Denzel Boston and they're high on him and they're like, he's going to change our offense. We're going to finally get a big X receiver for Patrick Mahomes. And he ends up being, an all-pro player. Well, now you've knocked it out of the park if you're Brett Veach. And we look like clowns a little bit because we're like, if Mansour Delane's really great, and then they get a guy from Mahomes back there because they think there's three wide. Maybe they think Omar Cooper Jr. could be there, But I thought this was such a golden opportunity for them to get one of the best. And if it wasn't going to be for a pass rusher, if they really didn't believe in Bain, and it looks like the NFL right now does not believe in Bain.
Yeah. I'll point out the Chiefs got the number one corner, so that at least in a vacuum, The Chiefs got the number 1 corner in the draft. The Dolphins are getting Caden Proctor at 12, so we'll see if the eventual run on tackles continues. 2 guard tackle prospects. I still think probably tackles.
That's what Veach said was going to happen. He said, like, right around 9 or so that there was going to be a massive run on tackles, and it's happening.
And now we shift our viewpoint for KC to pick 29. Where do the Chiefs go? Again, it makes it a little tougher. You lose pick 74, so that trade up that I think a lot of folks were expecting. I think a lot of people expected to trade up in the first round. I did say on air today that the Chiefs were going to trade up to around pick 6 or 7. I just thought it was for Bane, right? I did say they're going to go up to 6, 7, and then stay at 29. The co-hosts said that they were going to stay at 9 and trade up from 29 to around 22-ish, right? That was a little bit of the differing factor that we went back and forth with. I think the Chiefs now have to stay at 29. So if a guy is falling, a la Bane, you don't really have the ability to go up and get him because you already gave up 74 and 148. So it ties your hands a little bit. Now we have to see who keeps falling, how the board keeps going. Mekhi Lemon, is he going to be a guy that just falls just like Bane? I think the only real issue I will have is if they went tackle at 29. As long as they end up going with an edge or a wide receiver at 29, I think I'll feel a little better still because I can convince myself, okay, you got the number 1 corner in the draft. You got at least a first rounder. Again, you've had to pick 29 many times, at least around there many times. It hasn't always panned out at wide receiver or edge, but you got to get it right this time. So this is a legacy-defining draft for Brett Veach, and he went with a very aggressive move.
One closing thought on Mansour Delane is that the longer we go without another corner getting picked, I think the better this looks. If it ends up being a sizable gap between CB1 and CB2, it looks a little bit better for Brett Veach. But you're right. Guys like Kenyon Sadiq could be sliding, could have been a trade-up candidate. Casey Concepcion, I don't think he's going to make it to 29. I don't think TJ Parker. Those would be my 2 ideal guys at 29. Maybe Omar Cooper Jr. if they're looking to replace Rashee Rice. I will say they do have an extra third next year. So if they really saw value on the board that they thought was a screaming value, they could move up a little bit again if they wanted to. I don't know that I would be too upset if they borrowed from next year with that extra third. If they borrowed from this year, then you're kind of kneecapping this draft class because you need a lot of bodies. But they could potentially move up again if they believe that, hey, there are 20 really good players, 23 really good players in this draft, and then it falls off a cliff. They could also trade back. They could also trade back to make up some of the capital that they surrendered. You know, they could move a little bit into the second round and maybe find a way to get a third back, even if they have to give up something later. So those are some possibilities.
I said from Major Chip Hazard, always appreciate you. Says, I'm telling you guys, we don't know for sure that Delane would have been there for us at 9. No, I don't argue because I do think the Cowboys were one of the teams. I think it was either Chiefs or Cowboys. So take that as you will. I don't necessarily argue that point. End of the day, you got your CB1. You got your CB1. It was going to be about $22 million less than Trent McDuffie AAV, right? That's about the line. You just
and he has a higher ceiling. He has a higher ceiling than Trent McDuffie. We should just come out and say it because as a boundary corner, he doesn't have the size limitations that Trent McDuffie has. So I think that needs to be said.
And again, it's pick 1. We'll see how the rest of the draft plays out. That it's an incomplete. We can be and moan right now, but if all of a sudden guys fall to 29 and 40 that we thought were all going to go at 23 and 25, well, then we look back and say they got CB1 and their 2 guys at positional values of need. Again, my main takeaway as it currently sits is as long as you get an edge or a wide receiver, and preferably both at 29 and 40, I think we can look back and say, okay, the trade wasn't great. You lost 74. You lost 148. It felt a little bit of a panic. But we can look back and say, all right, well, then they got value. They got the blue chip players that we're clamoring for. Yeah, and maybe it's me trying to cope and talk myself into it. But again, the fun part is none of us at least argue that we don't think – we all agree Delane's a good player, right? So, again, in a vacuum, there's no denying that.
But
philosophically,
can I ask you guys a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you think this says something about how Brett Veach and Andy Reid see Patrick Mahomes? That Jordan Tyson was on the board and they decided to go defense. That they think Patrick Mahomes is a talent elevator and they don't need to give him weapons like they need to give Tyler Shuck down in the Big Easy, right? Because that's what they pay him the big bucks for. And they want to have a balanced team. Because I think the way I look at the Chiefs is I would rather them have a top 5 offense every year and just try to hit top 15 defense. I think that's a little bit more sticky than trying to be the 10th best on both sides of the ball, especially when you have Patrick Mahomes. I think defense fluctuates more than offense. So I'm not sure I agree with the overall strategy and how to build this team. Sometimes I think they should just go all in on Patrick Mahomes like the start of this thing, back when they had Sammy and Tyreek and Prime Kelsey and the Legion of Zoom and, Kareem Hunt, and that they've kind of gotten away from that in the name of balance.
We will see.
Real quick, I just love that anytime we have any pushback on any pick, it's, oh, of course, you guys know more than Brett Veach. No, we never claimed we have. But then that means you have to love the CEH pick. You had to love the McCole Hardman pick. You had to love the Sky Moore pick. You had to love the Bashard Breeland pick. You had to love the FAU pick. That is what you're saying. That's the exact point you are making. When you say, oh, you know more than Veach. No, we never claimed we did. But the point is, this is our job. If I just want to sit here all day and say every pick is great, everyone gets a Clementine, how fun is that?
Everyone
Come
gets
on
a
now.
Clementine.
Like, what are we
I love
doing?
it.
Juice boxes, baby.
So the Ravens have taken the guard out of Penn State at 14. Interesting things happening right now. Look, Bain is falling. And there's another guy that's intriguing to me, Kenyon Sadiq at tight end. Could he be there at 29? A lot of people had him going a lot higher than that, but did they maybe go for the heir apparent to Travis Kelce? There's lots to talk about. We're going to take a break. Let's go back to Studio 87. The Intangibles are coming back. Bryce Carter, Christian Ainsworth. They're going to make you feel better. They're going to make you feel better about our complaining because they like this pick. They're not on the ledge like we are. And again, I want to reiterate, all of us think this is a good pick, like is a good player, and we're excited to have him on the Chiefs and fills a huge need. So the criticism is some of the semantics of why there, what about other guys. I think this is going to work out. I don't think any of us are going to be sitting here at the end of next year and be like, man, Delane sucks. We're going to be like, he's great. He made our defense better. And that's a good thing because there's a huge need for the Chiefs. Let's turn things over to Studio 87. We'll see y'all in a few. Price, you're on, brother.
Hey, welcome back in, guys. First off, if you are interested in taking a closer look at Mansour Delane and what he's all about, Matt Connor is killing it over on the written work. You can check out the website. We've already posted my scouting report on Mansour Delane, 800 plus words on him, including a tape cut up. So if you want to get to know him a little bit better as a player, take a look at that. Kind of recapping what's happened here lately, we're seeing the offensive line run come through here. Obviously, the shocker, the Rams taking Ty Simpson at pick 13. That's their only first-round pick, right? They don't have that other first-round pick. So that's pretty surprising. We see the Cowboys get aggressive for Caleb Downs. And, Christian, I mean, you can tell me this. I do think that there's a situation like the problem that I have is this like hypothetical, the future. Like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I know for a fact that the Chiefs had to trade up for Mansour Delane. I don't know that. But I'm also not going to sit here and tell you that I know Mansour Delane was going to be there at pick 9. So sitting there and going, well, they could have just sit there and got him at 9 is silly. But what I do feel confident in saying is the Chiefs could have drafted Caleb Downs at pick 9.
Yeah.
Given what we have seen. So let me ask you this. Would you have rather Mansour Delane or Caleb Downs? Don't worry about the pick, just the player. Which would you have rather had?
Just the player. I'm going Caleb Downs. He was the first overall player in this draft for me. I think he was a scheme fit. He could play free safety, box safety. He could play nickel. Like, this is a dude who could play. I think he maybe could have even played on the outside a little bit at corner if you really needed him to. So for a player like that cerebral of a player, somebody who's that versatile, I think passing him up at that spot was kind of a misstep. But, I mean, you're looking at the Steve Spagnuolo defense and you're saying, okay, they have Jaden Hicks, who they loved and who has done very, very well in camp, has not showed a whole lot on the field. But, hey, maybe they believe that he can step up and play a bigger role this year. And I think that if you look at it like that and you say, okay, we don't know about Christian Fulton, Noel Williams is still very, very early in his career. Like, I could see him not panning out. Not that he's on that trajectory, but there is still that bust possibility. You're getting a sure thing with Delane. So this is not an egregious mistake by any means.
Yeah, and I think, listen, if you go back to what they have said, positional value is something that they are really focusing on this year. And if that's the tiebreaker between Downs and Delane, you're taking the corner every day. And I do think that there is some question. I mean, this draft is all about outliers. We're never going to get any testing data on Caleb Downs. We're never going to get his measurables as far as what he is, height and weight. So I do think that there's a situation where he's not as clean as an eval. And for those of you that are screaming Ruben Bain's name, I mean, I was a big proponent of the player. He was my sticky note guy this year. He's still on the board. The league is telling you a little bit about what they think about Ruben Bain, and whether it's that arm length, whether it's about the lack of testing data, whether it be about, that changes things a little bit right there.
You just got taken.
I just got taken. It looks like here at pick 15, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to be taking Ruben Bain Jr., the edge rusher out of Miami. So the fall does end for him here, and I think this makes a lot of sense. I mean, the chalk pick for the Buccaneers at 15 was Akeem Messidor. Instead, they get his running mate, Ruben Bain. And look, I mean, this is a guy that a lot of us thought was, you might have to trade up from 9 to go get. And instead, he goes at pick 15. So we've seen this little mini offensive run go here. As far as the players go, you get Vega Ioane, the guard out of Penn State. You see Caden Proctor. You see Spencer Fano. You see Francis Mauanoa go up. One thing that I'm starting to feel more and more confident, Christian, as we look at this more and more, is that I don't know if the Chiefs are going to get a tackle or if they were ever in on tackle. Like, if you were a person who believed that it's a smokescreen, that they don't want tackle, I'm starting to feel a lot more confident that was the smokescreen.
Oh, 100%. And, I mean, you look at some of these top tackles that have been taken, they're not really scheme fits anyway. Spencer Fano, Mauanoa, those are both guys who I could see playing elite guard reps at the next level. Mauanoa, a better tackle than Fano, I think, could be at the next level, but definitely somebody who has that sort of versatility, could play outside or in. The Ruben Bain thing is really, really interesting to me, especially because I was not somebody who was super, super high on Ruben Bain coming out. The arm length, I won't lie to you, the arm length was the major deciding factor in me placing him down at the 11th overall player for me in this draft. And I think that speaks to his potential ceiling as a player. I don't think that he will ever be this elite pass rusher like a Myles Garrett or a TJ Watt, even somebody who can just rush off the edge and get you 12, 15, 20 sacks a season if you're Myles Garrett. But the league kind of taking that same sort of stance is validating for me, but it's also one of those things where it speaks to some of these thresholds that teams have. If you look and you took the arm length out of it, Ruben Bain Jr., top 5 talent of the draft, I think, undisputedly. That arm length, I think, is the one thing that was hanging teams up, and it's nice to see him get a chance with the Bucs, but I am not sad that he is not on the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Again, I would just speak to the fact that when it comes to, if you were locked in on what, we all have our draft crushes, right? Like, I write a draft crush article every year. We all have our crushes. We all have our players we love. But if you were to the point that you were only going to be happy with 1 or 2 players selected at pick 9, you might want to reevaluate that process, just because that's not how GMs look at it. That's not how the teams look at it. And if you were a Ruben Bain, no matter what type of person, and that was the only way you're going to be happy, then there's a high likelihood that you were going to be disappointed in this draft. And what is the gap between Ruben Bain and Zion Young? What is the gap between him and Akeem Messidor? What is the gap between him and TJ Parker? We'll find out in time. But I do think that there is a a chance that that gap is much more narrow than we might know. Looking ahead to what's on the board right now. So we just recapping real quick. The Bucks, they take Ruben Bain at pick 15. The Ravens take Vega Ioane, the guard out of Penn State. Rams shocked the world by taking Ty Simpson, pick 13. Dan Orlovsky is dancing in the streets for that one. Caden Proctor. I had some people tell me that Chiefs really liked Caden Proctor. So that's a guy that, if you're a person who doesn't want them to draft a tackle, you might be happy to see go. The Cowboys move up for Caleb Downs. We talked a little bit about Downs versus Delane and what the gap is there. And then here we see back-to-back, swing guard tackles with Spencer Fano and Francis Mauanoa. So looking ahead here, this is where things start getting interesting. Pick 16 here for the Jets. This could be a Mekhi Lemon landing spot. He is a very Lions-esque player. He, shades of Amon-Ra St. Brown. They need a wide receiver. They obviously take David Bailey there. They've got A.D. Mitchell. They've got Garrett Wilson coming off an injury-riddled season. And Breece Hall, that's really what that offense is. And if you're going to be bringing Arch Manning, Brendan Sorsby, C.J. Carr, whoever that 2027 quarterback is into the system, you're going to want to put him in a system that's successful. They've got their bookend tackles with Armand Mimbu and the kid out of Penn State a couple of years ago. So I feel like there's probably going to be wide receiver.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Omar Cooper Jr. is another guy that has been mocked to the Jets at 16 for the longest time. But just looking at who's left on the board, Price, who are some of the names that you're hoping go before the Chiefs pick at 29? Because I have a list of players I would love to see at pick 29, Mekhi Lemon being one of them. But if you're a Chiefs fan, you're looking for Jermod McCoy to go.
Yeah.
You're looking for Avion Terrell, Chris Brazel, Kenyon Sadiq, Blake Miller, some of these guys who aren't positional needs. Who are the top guys that you would love to see available, and who would you like to see taken off the board?
Looks like we do have the Jets pick in here with the 18th pick in the NFL draft. The Jets are taking Oregon tight end Kenyon Sadiq. So they do go pass catcher, but maybe not the pass catcher you're thinking about. They recently spent a second-round pick on Mason Taylor from LSU. They doubled down on it by getting another tight end. This seems like a team that's wanting to play heavy personnel, play 12 and 13, be able to support that run game with Breece Hall. Still fulfilling that check mark of let's get a pass catcher for Arch Manning or Brendan Sorsby, or pick your favorite 2027 quarterback prospect. But it didn't go quite the way that you think it is. So, I think, and Joanne, correct me if I'm wrong, we have a nice little segment here about Kenyon Sadiq from NFL future Hall of Famer and great color commentator Greg Olson.
First, let's start with the Chiefs, right? They pick at 9, they pick at 29. I know they've done a lot of work on Kenyon Sadiq to this point. What are your thoughts on a potential Chiefs-Sadiq pairing in the draft?
Well, it would certainly give a highly, highly talented young player, what better mentor than having Travis Kelce back, right? Kelce coming back for at least one more year, arguably the best to ever play the position. So, yeah, I don't know if you could ask for a better mentor, a better room as a young rookie to walk into than in Kansas City. And then you factor in that you have Patrick Mahomes, assuming, everything goes well with his recovery and that he's back here sooner than later. And then obviously Andy Reid, somebody who's proven that they understand the tight end position. They understand how to work them into the game plan on a weekly basis. So yeah, if you're a young player, if you're Kenyon Sadiq, that's a dream landing spot, right? That's like you're running. When you hear your name called, you're like running to Kansas City to get started. So I think he's a fascinating player. I think he's being mocked to a lot of different places, but it seems like that middle of the first round, late teens, 20s seems like the spot, the consensus, but see how it plays out.
Madden picks. All right, that was future NFL Hall of Famer and Panthers legend Greg Olson, Fox color commentator, breaking down Kenyon Sadiq, and not only he's fit for the Chiefs, but what they're getting in the player. A little surprising to see them go with tight end there after taking Mason Taylor, and they do go pass catcher there. We were talking a little bit while that ad was running there about Mekhi Lemon, little citrus. The fall keeps going for him, please. So I'm looking here ahead. What teams do you think could be a Mekhi Lemon team if you are a team that's hoping for him to fall? I don't think the Lions are. I don't think the Vikings are. The Panthers, maybe. They've got Jalen Coker. Shout out to all the Cokeheads out there who love Jalen Coker out of the slot.
I love that name.
Yeah, it's a great nickname. Great nickname. But I don't know, man. Like I can start seeing the Mekhi Lemon train being a real thing for the Chiefs here at the back end of the first.
Oh yeah, well, and not that they are going to trade up, because I think that's out of the question after the trade up from 9. But if Mekhi Lemon were to fall, like this is a player we both feel like we have a high confidence in his projection to the NFL. Like this is a dude who is going to be successful. The extent to which, is kind of up for the debate because of his size, but definitely somebody who I would love to see in a Chiefs uniform. If I'm looking at the teams coming up though, and we have the Panthers, I think the Cowboys could be a sneaky pick based off of what they're looking for out of George Pickens, or if he's going to sign a long-term deal, possibly traded tonight. That's still on the table as well. Chargers, we know the Eagles are another team who I feel like could pull the trigger on a wide receiver. So it's really, and Cleveland as well, another team who could use it. So doubtful that he makes it, but definitely somebody who you should be looking for if you're a Chiefs fan.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the good news here is, like, since David Bailey and Arvell Reese, one edge has went off the board, and it's Ruben Bain. And I know a lot of Chiefs fans had him in mind and really wanted to see him come to Kansas City. But T.J. Parker, Keldrick Folk, Akeem Messidor, Zion Young, all those guys are still on the board. So I think at this point you're kind of just wanting to see edges and anything other than edges and wide receivers taken. And if it is going to be an edge, it's going to be one of those smaller guys like Cassius Howell or our Mason Thomas. So, real quick, we're going to throw to a quick break here. We're going to top off our drinks. Hopefully you do the same. We'll be right back here in a few seconds.
Now, I want to talk about something that I personally use, that I have right now in my kitchen, that my parents have, that my grandparents have, that my aunt and uncle have, and that is Aura frames. I love Aura. And by the way, with Mother's Day coming up, ditch the old school playbook. Yeah, flowers are great. Yes, chocolates are awesome, but they only last so long. Do you want something that takes the past? You can use it now in the present and also works for the future. That right there is Aura frames. So again, I have mine in the kitchen. For me, it's so fun. I see all these pictures that I uploaded super easily, of course, because if you know me, I have zero technological ability. Super easy, and I can see all these fun photos from throughout my entire life, golf trips that I've gone on, trips I've gone on with my parents when I was in Legoland as a child, all these fun different things. My grandparents love it, my aunt and uncle loves it, my parents love it, and you will love it too. Free unlimited storage, so as many photos and videos as you want. You can preload photos before it ships, so you can keep adding from anywhere, anytime. You can personalize your gift, so add a message before it arrives. There's a gift box included, and it's super, super easy. And top-rated app reached #1 in the App Store on Christmas Day in 25, just a few months ago. So all that you need to do is make Mother's Day special with Aura frames. Named #1 by Wirecutter, you can save on the gifts moms love by visiting auraframes.com. For a limited time, listeners can get $25 off their best-selling Carver matte frame with code Arrowhead. That's AURA frames.com, promo code Arrowhead. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply.
Christian, how are you?
Good. How was that Taco Bell taco, Bryce? Or what number is that tonight?
I care. I do not care.
It's at least answer. 5.
All right,
guys.
No one ever remembered the night that they didn't eat a lot of tacos. Okay, like, oh, that night I stayed in and went to bed really early and got a great night's rest. No one remembers that. Okay, you remember the nights whenever you drank a lot and geeked out over the NFL draft and ate your a taco 12-pack from Taco Bell. And that's what I'm going to do. All right, so we're back and we're here now with the Lions. Their pick is in, and it's Blake Miller, the right tackle out of Clemson. I think this makes a lot of sense. I would assume this means that Penei Sewell is moving to the left side. Blake Miller is probably the most plug-and-play right tackle in this class. So if the Chiefs were interested in getting a right tackle, this is probably the name I thought made the most sense for them. We have seen a big run on tackles. Right now, I believe the only tackles that are still left on the board are Caleb Lomu, the left tackle out of Utah, and Max Ihanicher out of Arizona State. So if you are someone who is, thinking the Chiefs need a tackle, or maybe the Chiefs are trading up for a tackle, the pickings are getting slim. This is the tackle run that a lot of people had reported on and said was coming. It is here, and it is now. And there are still several teams that could use a tackle, whether it be Pittsburgh, whether it be Philadelphia. Talking about some of the other players here, we were talking about the edge class before we cut to break. looking at these teams ahead of the Chiefs right now with their second round pick or with their next first round pick, looking at edge, I think, the Panthers are a team that could probably use some edge rush. They drafted Nick Scorton last year, but they don't really have a guy. I could certainly see the Cowboys doing it. The Chargers are a team. This is the spot that I think it starts getting scary if you're a team really hoping that some of those edge rushers are going to fall. Because this is, if you remember back when the Chiefs were picking at 31 and 32, this is how it always went. Like right about this time, we're feeling great. Like, oh man, like there's some good players that are going to fall here. And then this is where the gut punches start coming, where it's just like, oh, we really like that guy. Oh, we really like that guy. And then the board starts getting slim. So these next few picks, I'm watching closely for edge.
Yeah, I would imagine that those last couple tackles are going to get taken as well before we get to pick. So good news for the Chiefs. Blake Miller, you just talked about him. This was one of my guys from this draft. He was kind of one of those rare prospects where me and Price, we look at all of these, like we watch film, we do our evaluation, and we come together and talk every so often. And Blake Miller was one of those guys we both looked at and was like, hey, 6'7", 34-inch arms. And he's got movement skills, like potential Chief at 9? No, 29 maybe. Yeah, okay, yeah, we could do 29. So that is unfortunate. But if you're looking at positional value, Sterling wants an edge, dude. We got to get an edge. And as a Mizzou alum and current student, Zion Young still available. He would be one of my dudes.
As a man who's been very drunk inside of what's the stadium called again? Mizzou Stadium.
Oh, I can't remember.
You can't remember? Okay. Well, as a man who's been very drunk watching a Mizzou game with
Christian, I haven't been sober at that stadium.
I also sign off on Zion Young. The chat was very adept to point out that Monroe Freely is still on the board as well too at tackle. So there's 3 tackles that are left, really. Lomu, Freeling, and Ehanacher. As we walk back, welcome back, Studio 15. Fellas, we've had some bathroom breaks. We've had some drinks. Some of us have had some tacos, specifically me, which Christian keeps judging me, which I point out, like nobody ever remembers the night that they didn't eat 5 or 6 tacos. I will remember this night forever. Maybe. We'll see how the rest of the night goes. But welcome back, fellas. We were certainly getting the tackle run here going on.
Yeah. Look, some guys went off the board that I was a little bit excited about. Bain is gone. Of course, he goes 15 to the Buccaneers. Kenyon Sadiq is off the board. He goes 16 to the Jets. But look, I put my Patrick Mahomes Oakley's back on. I made myself a black Manhattan. I changed my hat to the Super Bowl championship hat. It is good vibes only. Good.
I changed clothes for better luck too. I had to change the hat and the shirt, and
good vibes. Good vibes the rest of the way.
Bad juju out. Good vibes in.
Yeah, it is. It is it is exciting here as we look ahead to the 29th pick for the Chiefs. Here's who the Vikings are on the clock. We're waiting on that pick to come in. And look, there's some guys that I'm excited about, but I wanted to ask you guys, I feel like at this point, as much as I want them to get an edge, for me, this next pick needs to be about Patrick Mahomes. You got to get him receiving help for the future in this pick. I think at this point, by the time you get to 29, right, you should not be able to get a really good starting edge. Maybe if you're lucky, you get a George Karlaftis type. And hell, this team would be better if they had 2 George Karlaftises on each side, right? But
drastically better.
Right. But I think you're looking at this point at you've gone defense and you paid a premium for that defensive player. So I think at this point when you're looking at pass rusher, you're hoping to get a rotational guy, maybe in the second round, maybe a little bit later. And
I think it depends.
Okay.
This is a deeper edge class than I think the one George Karlaftis went in. In all fairness, there are 3 guys that I like as potential starters. And I don't think any of them are going to be superstars, but I think they all have Karlaftis potential and a pretty high floor. And that's, first off, TJ Parker from Clemson, long arms, physical. I like the player. And then 2 guys that are just animals. They may not be the bendiest or most explosive players, but Zion Young, the aforementioned Zion Young from Missouri, And then one of my favorites, Gabe Akis from Illinois. That guy's just an animal. So I think, and then when it comes to receiver, you're looking at, has Lemon gone yet?
No, Lemon's still on the board that I've seen.
Casey Concepcion, Mekhi Lemon. Concepcion's from Texas A&M. Mekhi Lemon is from USC. Sometimes we forget to tell people where these guys are from. And
Lemon's
then,
got crazy production too. I mean, just insane production.
I'm a little bit worried that how things will translate to the pros outside the slot. You know, they really need a man beater. But then you have Omar Cooper Jr. and from Indiana and Chris Bell from Louisville. Probably he's more of like a 40 guy, like pick 40 guy. Outside of that, like there's kind of a precipitous drop for both edges and wide receivers. So they might need to trade up a little bit here from either 29 or 40 to ensure they get one of these guys. Maybe they disagree, but that's the way I see the board.
So I know we talked about it a little earlier when Price was here, but Blake Miller going to the Lions. Again, more of a right tackle. Penei Sewell probably switches over to the left tackle. Vikings looks like they're going with Caleb Banks. Caleb Banks, the defensive tackle. That's
Planet
what it looks
theory,
like.
Right? There's only so many guys that walk around looking and moving like Caleb Banks. He is a Chris Jonesian specimen. And that's a huge gamble with him already having chronic feet problems at 330 or 40 pounds, whatever he is.
And then it looks like Carolina at pick 19 is going with Georgia offensive tackle Monroe Freeling. That was an interesting guy, I thought, for the Chiefs. He fell in no man's land. I felt like in this draft of the Chiefs didn't really have a chance to get him because he was going to go around this little patch. You weren't getting him at 9. It would be too much of a reach. 29 he wasn't falling to, but I thought Monroe Freeling actually made the most sense as far as some of the tackle prospects for KC. Very long arms. I don't mind Omar Cooper Jr. just because anytime I hear his name, I think of Gus Johnson with doing the Gus-gasm of Omar Cooper, give him the Heisman now. Give him the Heisman. One of my all-time favorite just calls when Mendoza hit him in the back of the end zone. I in that 15-minute break, I just talked myself into, you got a blue-chip player, you got CB1, you're saving $22 million a year versus McDuffie AAV, right? And then I had to be fair, and the cons are you give up some draft capital to trade up. The issues at edge and wide receiver still persist. While corner was phenomenal last year, that wasn't the issue. I'm stuck. I'm really stuck in the feelings here. I think part of the reason why is because we're not used to having a top 10 pick. It's been a while. Like we're stained, right? It's been a while. And so we were expecting to see either a sexy pick in a wide receiver, because wide receivers are always fun and exciting, or even edges can be fun and exciting because they get after quarterbacks and you can immediately say, well, how good was that guy? Well, how many sacks did he have? I know that's lazy analysis, but I do think sometimes we can just fall into, hey, well, he had 9 sacks year 1. That's a success. It's more tangible. Corner's tough because there's still a subsect of folks in KC who were like, yeah, McDuffie isn't good enough. Well, I think we all agreed that's wrong. Look at the contract he got. Look at the all-pros he received. We all see how good McDuffie was. But corner's a little tougher to tell sometimes how elite a guy is because you have those top 5 guys. Then you have a little bit of a drop-off, and then there's a cluster of 20 guys who might be good, but their perception might be bad because of penalties or the occasional touchdown that gets shown on national television. Point remains, Brett Veach has a lot more on the line than we do. A lot more skin in the game than we do. And Brett Veach clearly feels passionate about Monster Delane because this is the draft he has to get right. This is the draft with no excuses. So that, to me, has to at least scream a lot of what Brett Veach thinks of Monster Delane. Looks like right here the Eagles have traded with the Cowboys. Shocking. And are on the clock right now at pick 20.
Yeah, Eagles trading with the Cowboys. That's a little bit unusual. As we know that the Panthers have taken Monroe Freeling. Look, I'm with you, Sterling. Like I said, I got myself together. I changed my hat. I put the Mahomes glasses back on. I made myself a cocktail. You can't always get what you want, but if you try sometime, you might just find you get what you need. And for me, this Mansour Delane pick, it really comes down to how the rest of the draft shakes out. While we did not like it in the moment, and we think maybe they gave up too much capital, and I saw an interesting tweet about this. Seth Walder from ESPN tweeted out that at the time of the number 6 pick, I don't know what this is based on, but at the time of the number 6 pick, there was a 90% chance Mansour Delane would make it to pick 9 per draft day predictor. Even if that number is a little high, that's the hidden cost of trade ups. There was a substantial chance the Chiefs gave up a 3 and a 5 for nothing. Ari Marov says that once Cardinal Tate went off the board, who Washington liked, the Chiefs felt they had to get in front of the Commanders to land Mansour Delane, who it was believed was also high on their board. So that's it, right? Veach and the Chiefs, he was their guy. They thought Washington might take him, and they liked him enough to give up that draft capital to go up and get him. And it is what it is at this point. So for me, it is what happens the rest of this draft. What do the Chiefs do at 29 and at 40? Because if they nail those picks, if it's a wide receiver and an edge rusher, an edge rusher and a wide receiver, if they nail those picks, who cares what order they went in, right? Like if they all turn out to be good starters, we won't care.
We talk about that all the time. If what was it? Rasheed Rice and Kings. I'm trying to think of 1, 2, and you go, well, if it was flipped, would you have cared how it went? No, it didn't matter. It just matters how they turned out. I mean, the fact that Jalen Watson was as good as he was as a 7th rounder, it didn't matter. If you draft him the 3rd or 2nd round, I think we're all thrilled if you draft him there. It's all how the draft ends up panning out. But we do forget. Like, let's be real. If Sky Moore was a 7th rounder and Watson was in the 2nd, we'd say, oh my gosh, what a difference that makes, right? It's just because of where they're drafted. Sometimes we like to bring up the negatives, and especially when you go 6 and 11 last year, I think the ire of Chiefs Kingdom, I think myself included, has been raised. Yeah, it looks like the Eagles are getting Mekhi Lemon. I don't know how I feel about that, because the Eagles are one of those teams that have also struggled to develop wide receivers, or at least identify to an extent, right? I think people forget. They go,
well, we know they're trading. I mean, they're going to trade AJ Brown to the Patriots, right? So
is this going to be who's the guy? Ended up going to the Vikings. They drafted before Justin Jefferson. Did the NFL want you to forget about in the Howie Roseman love?
Jalen
Rager. Or
J.J.
Arcega-Whiteside, Jinx. Or
the other thing is they wanted Allen Robinson instead of AJ Brown. AJ Brown, they kind of backed into him. This also probably means AJ Brown is going to New England for sure, which is not great for the AFC at all if he still has the juice, which I think he does.
Yeah, it's interesting now. If you look at what's coming up, right? So you got the Steelers, the Chargers, the Cowboys, the Browns, the Bears, the Bills, the 49ers, the Texans, and then the Chiefs. If you were looking for the Chiefs to go wide receiver here and you like a guy like Omar Cooper Jr., or for me, the receiver on the top of my board right now is Casey Concepcion, and then Denzel Boston, and then Omar Cooper Jr., you have some wide receiver needy teams on that list. Right. There's been some smoke about maybe the Cowboys would trade Pickens. We'll see, but they don't have to go wide receiver. The Browns definitely need a wide receiver. They have absolutely nobody right there. They got their top tackle in the draft. The Bears aren't going receiver. The Bills could go receiver. The 49ers could use a receiver. And so if you're pro the Chiefs going wide receiver here, seeing the Eagles get Mekhi Lemon is not good. One, because the Eagles got a good player, and two, there's a few guys that might there could be a run on wide receivers. So if the Chiefs want a wide receiver, I might be looking at and they wanted to trade up to get it. And I don't advise this given the capital that they've given up, but if they can get a decent deal, I might take a hard look at 23 with the Cowboys. If you want to get a guy like Casey Concepcion and get ahead of Cleveland, because I would be shocked if Cleveland doesn't take a wide receiver.
I'm with you there. I do think a wide receiver to Cleveland makes a ton of sense. I do wonder if another trade is in the cards for a player. I'm talking more specifically at edge. I don't know what the Chiefs do. Like, if they miss the pocket, like if they don't go edge at 29, and let's just say Zion and TJ Parker go in between 29 and 40, right? What do they do? Like, this is not me trying to be hyperbolic or a panic factory over here. But your starters right now are legit Gelati and FAU. I guess you'd be looking at bringing in 37-year-old Cam Jordan, which, by the way, I'm all for. I still think they should do that either way. But I don't know what they do if they miss that pocket and don't go edge at 29. I think you almost have to. That's just my personal opinion. I think they almost force themselves to do that.
Yeah, and look, I don't know. Maybe they really believe in Gelati. I mean, maybe they think that this guy is really going to take a step forward, and they're going to get Omar Norman Lott back, and they liked what they were seeing out of him, and maybe they feel like the groundwork that they laid last year when they invested heavily in the defensive line, maybe once they got those guys in the team, and I know they didn't make a huge impact last year because of injury and being rookies, but maybe Brett Veach feels like we got guys, we got enough here that we can maybe go edge a little bit later.
Yeah, I think you could feel like that more at wide receiver. I got an interesting tweet. Was along the lines of, I think there's enough talent at wide receiver. It was the coaching. I semi-agree. Like, I think there's more talent at wide receiver than there is at edge. Like, yeah, Omar Norman Lott's back, but that's a defensive tackle. And you have Omar, Chris Jones, and Kairos Tonga. And I think we all agree, Chris Jones is a fine edge rusher, but he's way more effective, I think, as a defensive tackle. I think Gelati is a fine player. I just view him more as that Mike Dana type of player, where a guy you can count on, really solid, but I don't see him having the tools to really be that, even in that George Karlaftis range personally. But I do think at wide receiver, how excited were we last year heading into the season? Even the previous couple of years, at some point, even with the change in guys, the constant really was the coaching staff and the fact they had no run game. I do think there's an argument to be made that wide receiver might not be quite as dire with the improved running game. So you'll see more balanced boxes versus, 8 dudes dropping back. I think you'll see a different philosophy with the wide receivers as well. It can Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy and Tyquan Thornton, and we'll see with Jalen Royals. I mean, again, we look at that, and we were stoked last year, and it was a disaster.
Yeah, I mean,
so
we know what
either all those guys were bad. I know there's some injuries involved too, but so either all those guys were bad, or their coaching staff didn't know how to use them. Well, they have a new wide receiver coach. They have a better run game now. I think you can at least talk yourself into wide receiver might not be quite as dire as we originally thought.
Yeah, I think, look, we know what they think of Rashee Rice, right? They said it. They think he's a top 10 wide receiver.
I don't know if they believe. What are they going to say?
But they said that, like they said that last year. Like, they think he's incredible. And look, if you I know things went south last season for the offense and for the team as a whole, but if you tally up his he was projected for, like, if he wasn't suspended, he would have been on a pace of like a 1,200-yard pace. And he did fizzle out there towards the end of the year, but he also lost Patrick Mahomes at some point. I think if he wasn't, like, just as likely to be on America's Most Wanted as he was to be on the Chiefs, I would feel a lot better about the receiver room, because I still have faith that Xavier Worthy can take a step forward. And I would feel like they would be getting ready to maybe re-sign Rashee Rice if you didn't have the character issues and the worry that he's too hot to give a second contract to. So maybe they're going into this season thinking, you know what, we believe in Xavier Worthy. We think he's going to take a step forward, and we've changed our coach, and we think we're going to get one more year out of Rashee Rice, and we'll think we'll have enough with Travis Kelce being back to readdress the wide receiver position next draft as we bring back Studio 87, Price Carter, and Christian Ainsworth. Fellas, Mekhi Lemon.
Did y'all see that or hear that?
Charlie?
Yeah, it's pretty gnarly here in Kansas City. Tornado sirens are going off here, but the show goes on, baby. Okay,
I'm in my living room. If I have to go down to the basement, I might have to.
We're in the basement at my place, but the show goes on.
I got these French doors right here. That's not protecting me at all.
I'm channeling my Leonardo DiCaprio, and they're gonna have to drag me out of here with some chains. Okay, I'll die on this stream. I don't care. Looking at first off, Mekhi Lemon to the Eagles. I understand that they have a wide receiver need with the pending AJ Brown trade, but boy, I don't love that fit for them. A guy who lives over the middle of the field with a quarterback who struggles to throw over the middle of the field. That just feels like RPO screens and stuff to him to create in the yak. I don't love that fit for them, honestly. I tell you guys, I mean, I know everyone wants to still complain about the Mansour Delane pick. Boy, the Caleb Banks pick. Wow. I get the traits and everything, but that's heavy. I mean, there's a lot there with the profile, and I get that, but watching a full game of Caleb Banks versus watching Caleb Banks highlights is a much different experience.
Hey, real quick, just in case, fellas, and everyone listening as well, if I have to run to the basement, you'll know why. It looks like I'm about to get bleeped on in about, I don't know, the next 30 minutes. I am standing next to all glass. I'm talking all glass. Maybe if the Chiefs end up drafting a tackle at 29, I'll stand by it, and just that way I can get put out of my misery. But if I have to make a quick emergency exit to the basement, you'll know why.
Well, I mean, it'd be good TV, but I don't want you to get hurt. So maybe we can split the difference. You have insurance, right?
Yes, I have insurance.
Yeah. That'll be fine.
I like my house.
Here's what happens. But if your windows get blown out, go over to Price's house and join them in Studio 87, and then you deal with it in the morning.
I love this.
And it'll be great. I mean, great clip. Viral
Appreciate
clip, right?
you, Cool Chief. Member for 34 months. Ring of Honor. Thank you. Message: Sterling is right and everyone else is wrong. That's all I needed to hear. That's all I needed today. I can now go out in a tornado of glory.
As another offensive lineman goes off the board, I want to ask Price. Okay, so obviously a lot of Chiefs fans wanted edge rusher. They didn't get it. A lot of Chiefs fans wanted wide receiver. They didn't get it yet. What are you looking at the way the board is falling for the Chiefs at 29? Do you see an opportunity for them to get a really good wide receiver? Are we talking Casey Concepcion, Denzel Boston, Omar Cooper Jr. still out there? Or is there an edge rusher that you would prefer they snag here to really, try to reset this defense?
One edge rusher has come off the board since the Chiefs picked Mansour Delane, and that was Ruben Bain at pick 15. So I think this is breaking really well. I mean, I would have loved Mekhi Lemon to fall in striking range for the Chiefs. I didn't think that was going to happen because of the player and who he is. Omar Cooper Jr. is still an option. Casey Concepcion is still an option. I choose not to believe that Denzel Boston is an option. I just don't think he's a great fit. Not really necessarily high on the player in this offense. But, I mean, really what I'm looking at here is just Keldrick Folk, T.J. Parker, Zion Young, Akeem Messidor. That bucket of players, I personally would be shocked if the Chiefs took Akeem Messidor with the age. They've never drafted a player that old, period. Not like in the first round, like ever. They've never drafted a player that old. But overall,
he's what, 25?
Yeah, he's 25.
Is he 25?
Yeah, he'll be 25 his entire rookie season.
Yeah.
So overall, I like the way the board is falling.
What's your prediction? I mean, what do you think? What do you think they're gonna do? Are they gonna go defense here, or are they gonna try to get something for Patrick Mahomes?
What do you think, Christian?
I think they got to go D-line. We know how much Brett Veach values offensive line and defensive line. This to me just seems like the perfect storm to get to get a defensive lineman here. Zion Young, obviously, I'm super high on, but TJ Parker would be a great fit as well. Now, the second or third highest guy on my board is still there, and this might piss you off, Sterling, but Jermod McCoy, cornerback. Can I interest you a double DB first round?
Well, double DB, I'm now out on, I think. I loved him at – love is a strong word. I said I loved him at 40 if for some reason he fell to there because of the injury. But I said I'd be pretty happy with him at 29. Like, I thought McCoy, if he fell to 29 when this report came out, I thought, yeah, I was in. I don't think I could be talked into that quite now because you just went corner, trading up to get one at 6. But I don't argue the fact that he would be almost in that blue chip category. It just comes with a lot of risk. It's Josh Simmons to an extent, right? That's a little bit of what it is.
Well, yeah, or Will Johnson from a few years ago.
Will Johnson's a perfect example.
Now, I will say it worked out for the Eagles. Avion Terrell and Cooper DeJean, first-round picks. They got 2 blue-chip guys.
Quinyon
Mitchell.
Excuse me, not Avion Terrell. But, yeah, 2 great defensive backs. They completely changed their defensive backcourt in one offseason like that. I mean, I understand the value, but, third overall guy.
And I'm not going to let myself get really worked up if Jermod McCoy is there at 29. This is a guy who has top 10 talent. We've heard the reports about the medicals and heard that it's been compared to the Will Johnson situation. So if he's sitting there at 29, right, for the picking, that's almost like, hey, let me sell you this nice Porsche for $800. Well, why is it $800 if it's a Porsche, right? There's some buyers beware there for sure. So, I wouldn't panic too much over the Jermod McCoy comparing it to Mansour Delane because I think that those evals and what the medicals are on those players are probably much different. But overall, right now, I really like the board for where the Chiefs are at, and we've seen this. It looks like we do have the next pick in here. We do have the next edge rusher off the board, but I do still think that this is good news for the Chiefs. At pick 22, the Los Angeles Chargers lock in Akeem Messidor, Ruben Bain's running mate at Miami. Old leather helmet, 25 years old. He's a guy who at one time was playing a true nose tackle role over at West Virginia. Kicks over to Miami, a good inside-outside versatility, heavy-handed guy. He was a guy that I think played the way the Chiefs like to play, and if he was 21 or 22, I think they'd be much more into him. But you just wonder about a guy as maxed out as he has with his, pass rush moves and those type of things. What the growth is there. But the Chargers, they take him and pair him with Tui Pelotu and Khalil Mack.
I will say this. FAU is still like a full year younger than Messidor.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But I will point out this. I do think at times we get so caught up in age, sometimes just take the player because he's good. It's going to be more of a common occurrence with the current landscape of NIL. I mean, you're looking at Trinidad Chambliss wanting to go back to college versus go to the NFL when he was probably going to be, a third rounder, maybe a second rounder, and he chose to go back to college, right? So we're going to start seeing some of these older 23, 24-year-old dudes, 25, obviously still somewhat of an outlier, but it's to an extent of, don't we all agree he's a good player? Don't we all agree he's a really solid player who's going to be a good NFL guy? I think some teams maybe overthought the Akeem Messidor. Yeah, I get it, not top 10. But I think it's a good pick for the Chargers, and quite frankly, as a Chiefs guy, I'm a little nervous by it. I think he's going to be a good player year one for the Chargers.
Well, I think there's an argument to be made here. I think Keldrick Falk might have been another option that they could have looked at there. If you just compare those two players, Mike, I guess, straight up, right? You have Keldrick Falk, who did nothing but was disadvantaged by the scheme that he was in. He was lining up all over the defensive line. He was inside, he was outside, couldn't really develop a pass rush plan. And then you have on the opposite side of the spectrum, Akeem Messidor, who has the age. He was across from Ruben Bain, getting, these lighter workloads along the defensive line, So I think there's a question of upside with Akeem Messidor, but I do agree with you. He is a player who I think comes ready to play right out of college. Just for me, Keldrick Falk would be, that's who I would have chosen there.
I like it.
Adam is back with us, worked out some of his technical issues. Adam, how are you feeling, man? The Cowboys are on the clock. As we were talking about before, if your team get a weapon for Patrick Mahomes, you could see the Browns almost certainly will take a wide receiver here now that they've gotten a tackle. It's a huge need for them. and maybe the Bills and the 49ers also probably on wide receiver watch. How do you see this falling? What do you want the Chiefs to do? Do you want them to go edge?
Either way, Casey Concepcion is my wide receiver 3. I'm a big fan of TJ Parker. So either one of those guys would make me super happy, but I don't expect them both to be on the board by the time 29 rolls around. So maybe this run on tackles has helped the Chiefs. I have to say, I don't really like the Akeem Mesidor pick. I think he's going to be collecting Medicare into his second contract. But I know not everyone agrees that you want these guys for 10 years, but it would be nice if it was an option for an edge. So yeah, that's the way I see it. I think edge and wide receiver are getting too thin for my liking, but this board is kind of falling the way you'd like it to for the Chiefs so far. Caleb Banks, when you have Ty Simpson and Caleb Banks sneaking into the teens, that's going to push some good players down, some guys that probably shouldn't be there at 29, hopefully will be there at 29.
I know your answer to this, but I'm just going to ask it to you because I think it'll be fun. Christian suggested, what about going double barrel at quarterback?
I mean, I've already had my freak out, so I don't think I mean, I already hit rock bottom, so there's nowhere else to go after that. But I actually really like McCoy, so I'm not going to get mad about McCoy being a screaming value at 29 because they did the Delane thing before. But it would just be such a complete and total departure from, I mean, at least who I thought the Chiefs were coming into this draft. I thought they were kind of their secret sauce was we find unheralded gems in the secondary better than any team in the NFL. And I think the way I see it now is the Chiefs don't have that confidence in themselves that we have in them. They see it like we keep our secondary cheap, not necessarily we find them, like spare change under couch cushions.
Well, look, the Chiefs still have 29, 40, and 109. So they've got some really solid picks here in the top 110, even with the trade up for Delane. So maybe their new superpower is going to be finding other positions later in the draft. Maybe a tight end.
A real big surprise.
Sterling, what do you got over
Yeah, a
there?
real big surprise from the Cowboys. They're going with a pass rusher, Malachi Lawrence.
Whoa.
Hey, I told you, Sterling, at Hollywood Casino today that I thought he was going to sneak into the first round.
You nailed
it. It is an edge rusher. I don't know how in the Chiefs would be on this player. He has some really fun tape. He comps a lot similar to FAU, which is like the run defense is adequate. I'm not going to say it's great, but some really great pass rush juice. The first step is exciting.
Is this Taco Charlton 2.0 for Dallas?
He's not quite as traits up as Taco Charlton as far as the overall size, but he did show out at the combine. He was a 90th percentile testing athlete. He really tore up the Big 12. But the question is, like, what's that going to look like in the NFL? Big 12 tackles versus there. But I mean, hey, again, these heavy-handed guys, these guys who can stay on the field on early down, they're still there. And I think you just look ahead at what's on the board here. I mean, how many teams do you see being edge teams after the Cowboys? The Browns feel very likely to take a wide receiver. I think the Bears could take an edge rusher. I think the Bills might. 49ers, maybe. I don't think the Texans aren't. Yeah, so I just think that this is kind of playing out well for the Chiefs to stick and pick an edge. Like at this point, I feel pretty good about one of Parker, Folk, or Young being there.
Yeah, I think the Chiefs now have some good spots, not just at 29, but I think into 40 starting tomorrow. I mean, you look at it, we can still throw cornerbacks in if you want to with Avion Terrell and Jermon McCoy. I think safety's out of the equation at this point at 29 and 40. I sure hope so. But like Denzel Washington, Omar Cooper Jr., Casey Concepcion, Zion Young, Cassius Howell, Peter Woods, Kendrick Folk. If you want to go interior guy, Caden McDonald. Maybe you throw Caleb Lomu, the tackle from Utah, into the equation. But I do see 29 and 40 having some really valuable and viable players. I think a name to watch at 40 potentially. Maybe everyone disagrees. You probably don't do it now because there are so much concern at edge. But what about Eli Stowers at 40? My thoughts. You guys are shaking your head.
I
no.
knew you were going there for sure.
Especially with these list of names that are currently still on the board. I'm looking at the Browns. I'm hoping it's not
Price,
Casey.
you want a
It
blocking
is.
tight
Bleep
end? Is
me.
that
Oh, bleep me. Bleep you, Cleveland. Gosh. Bleep you. They take Casey Concepcion, and that pipe dream of Casey to KC is gone.
Cleveland's having a good draft, man. They trade back, they pick up an extra third, they get the top tackle that they wanted, and then they get Casey Concepcion. Like, that's for a disaster of a franchise. They're having a pretty good.
By the way,
draft.
did I say Denzel Washington instead of
You did.
Oh, great.
You did. Washington, Boston.
Yeah, you
great
can either
actor.
one. Yeah, I actually want the actor.
Yeah.
No, I said it right. Gosh, thanks for catching me on that, Jason. Denzel Washington.
Yeah,
I got a question. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I do think that Concepcion might have been a player that the Chiefs had their eyes on. I think he could have done a lot of things that they envisioned Xavier Worthy doing, as far as being able to line up on the outside and win in the vertical plane. The yak is really good for him, too. He's a weapon in the special teams game. Took a huge step forward. At NC State, he was that pure gadget guy, taking handouts in the backfield, jet sweeps, all those type of things. And he really evolved with some pretty poor quarterback play at Texas A&M this past year. So I think the Browns, again, we talked a little bit about the Jets with Sadiq, and they're building this infrastructure for Arch Manning, for Brendan Sorsby, for pick your favorite quarterback, DJ Lagway or whoever in the 2027 class. I think they're building that infrastructure, and it makes sense for them. And again, I think Malachi Lawrence coming off the board for the Chiefs is probably a net positive. I know a lot of us would have liked to see Concepcion, so that one hurts. But something else to keep an eye on: Ehanacher, Blake Millett, the tackles are gone. Unless they take Caleb Lomu, he's the only tackle that's left on the board that even was considered a fringe first rounder. And I agree with Sterling that I think that this is good news, not only for pick 29, but pick 40 as well, too, because the further on we get down the draft board, we're going to see teams fall less and less in consensus, because this is where we're starting to get team fits, team needs, those type of things. The consensus, it's going to be all over the place. So, yeah, I like where this is setting for them. I think they're in a good place here. At this point, you could almost tick off the teams, even if they all took an edge rusher. You feel pretty good about one of them being there. And if you are someone who is still interested in a wide receiver, Omar Cooper is still on the board, does a lot of Rashee Rice type of things, a power slot, good yak skills, tough after the catch, pretty strong at the catch point as well, too. That could be a name, too. I am personally not as high on Omar Cooper, but I would take him in this area now that Concepcion is off the board. He's my wide receiver 4. I'm not as high on Denzel Boston in this offense and for this team.
I've got a question for Christian in just a minute, but we have to take a quick break to talk to our friends from Brooklyn Mattress.
All right, now, I don't always have the best, let's say, sleeping schedule. I don't always have the best back. I do dumb things, so I need something that helps me out. I need something comfy. I need the foundation for life, and that is Brooklyn bedding. So I find this, 1, this is true, and 2, to be hilarious. So I had just received and I bought 2 different mattresses from a different store. I needed a guest room set up, and I was like, all right, I need to get some stuff in here. And I got them on clearance because I go, okay, they can't be that bad. The next day, Brooklyn Bedding says, hey, we want to work with you guys. Let's partner up with the Arrowhead Addict. So I said, sure. I get the mattress in thinking, all right, maybe I'll just put it in my guest room. I laid it on the guest room one time, took a quick little nap on that bad boy. I immediately that day took out my mattress in my primary room, took it out, and put the Brooklyn Bedding mattress in. It is awesome. The cooling factor of this one is great because I like to sleep a little hot because I like to save a little bit of money. Little frugal guy over here. In Brooklyn Bedding, it cools you down. Not only that, it's a great American story. The founder, John, didn't come from some big corporate background. He didn't have a degree. He studied mattresses. He bootstrapped the business and built his own factory from the ground up in Arizona. You will see and understand all of that shining through in the quality of the mattress. So they assemble every mattress in their Arizona factory. There's no middlemen, which means you get top tier quality, honest pricing, and that real American craftsmanship. It's a 120-night comfort trial. Love it, or they'll help you return it. Swap-free, hassle-free. I am telling you, you are going to love this because I love this. And that's a real story, by the way. My boy came up the other day and picked up my old mattress. I told him, you can have it, because this one I'm keeping. So go to brooklynbedding.com and use my promo code Arrowhead at checkout to get 30% off site-wide. This offer is not available anywhere else. That's brooklynbedding.com and promo code Arrowhead for 30% off site-wide. Support our show and let them know we sent you after checkout. brooklynbedding.com, promo code Arrowhead. I know you don't like ads. There was only 3 ads. They were a total of 5 minutes. Come on, guys.
My Brooklyn mattress is unbelievable.
I'm sorry, guys.
We're not the Red Zone channel, okay?
I'm sleeping so good. Yeah, we got to keep the lights on. Okay, so I had a question for Christian. You mentioned, the Chiefs potentially going defensive line here. How would you feel if they went with my guy from Ohio State, Caden McDonald?
Ooh, see, I'm much lower on Caden McDonald than I think consensus. He is a defensive tackle, run-stopping, one-tech. I don't see a whole lot of pass rush upside from him, so he's very much a guy who I think is a role player and would be in this defense. Now, is he a scheme fit? I think absolutely. And if you could get some pass rush upside out of him, then maybe you could sell me on him. But with all the other talent on the board, like if they skip on him or if they choose him instead of Zion Young or TJ Parker, I would not be satisfied.
Do you think Zion Young's a 3-down guy? Question to both of you.
Yeah, well, I mean, he is very, very limited on his pass rush right now. Like, he was very much a guy, having watched all the games, usually live at Mizzou, it was very, very apparent that not a whole lot of pass rush moves in his arsenal. But he is the best, I think, run-stopping edge player in this class. So you get a guy day one who can come out and take over that role from Ashton Gelati, and he has the requisite length, speed, and physical attributes to become, I think, a 3-down player in the NFL. Now, are you going to see that in year one? Probably not. He's probably going to be a guy who, is very, very role limited to early downs. But, with the right teaching, with the right evolution, I think it could be somebody who's legit.
Looks like the Bears take Oregon safety Delane Thieneman, the safety from Oregon at pick 24, right? Because Bears – no, that's pick 25. Pick 25. So Bills will
be a nice team, man.
Yeah, so Bills will be on the clock at 26. Bills looking wide receiver?
Yeah, I don't know if they go wide receiver at this point. I think Concepcion was the apple of their eye for a lot of Bills fans because of the vertical speed and that sort of thing that he has to offer. I do think there's a bit of an overlap with Omar Cooper Jr. and DJ Moore. In fact, I think there's even some comps out there to him as far as the player goes. But Thieneman coming off the board here is pretty nice. I think, again, that's a good win for the Chiefs as far as reeling stuff in here to 29. I feel really good about edge at this point. I've said that several times. And I think Thieneman makes sense for the Bears, too. He's a guy that, when you look at what he did at Purdue, played a lot more in the box, played a lot more free safety at Oregon. According to Oregon staff, they said that he was one of their best slot corners. They just didn't use him in that role, too. So he's very versatile. They have a big safety need on that roster, that back end. So they get a guy that, honestly, I thought might go a lot earlier, but goes now and lock in a good safety.
That's good news for the Chiefs, man. I mean, I wouldn't want to take a safety here with all the talent on the board. Adam, how are you feeling now? I mean, are you leaning Folk? Folk's still out there? Some people in the chat want to know about Peter Woods.
I just think it would be the Chiefs saying, we go safe, not sexy. And if you think back to the first iteration of this dynasty, they won with sexy. Travis Kelce, Chris Jones, Tyreek Hill, you got to take some swings, man. And I guess they see Delane as their kind of swing. It's just not the kind of swing I'm expecting. I'm hoping it's TJ Parker. Omar Cooper Jr., I like the player, but they need someone who can beat man coverage. He is just Rashee Rice all over again. Maybe he's a sane Rashee Rice, so that's good, I suppose. That we can count on him not getting arrested. yeah. But I just think, like, if we want to see proof, evidence that they're moving away from being kind of stuck in the same stale scheme, Omar Cooper Jr. wouldn't be necessarily a good omen for on that front. But I do think the board is falling rather good for the Chiefs.
Houston now on the spot. Texans get 26 and 91. Bills get 28, 63, and 168. So Texans are now on the clock.
McDonald's?
Yeah.
A linebacker, maybe?
It could be Jacob Rodriguez. That would make sense. Is he's like, it sounds like the pretty much the entire Texans linebacker core is a free agent after this next year. So it could be a linebacker, whether that's C.J. Allen or Jacob Rodriguez. This also could be a Caleb Lomu spot. You know, they're constantly trying to get that tackle position figured out. They signed Braden Smith to a 2-year deal this offseason, so that makes some sense. I don't think it'll be wide receiver. They go double Ohio State last year in the draft, and they still have Nico Collins. I could also see this being a Peter Wood spot. He's a guy that they've been connected to and is a penetrating 3-tech plays the way that they like to. But good news is, I don't think they're taking edge. I know they got Will Anderson. I know they got
Daniil
Hunter. So I'd be surprised if they go edge here.
Bill's now picking directly in front of the Chiefs. And I know a lot of us would like maybe a wide receiver. But as Price was saying, maybe that's why the move back here for the Bills. If Casey Concepcion was the apple of their eye and he's not on the board anymore, why not pick up
Denzel Washington
draft capital
instead of Denzel Washington?
I'm
Oscar
like
winner.
Denzel Boston. Yes, I like Denzel Washington for the Chiefs. I would love this type of receiver for Patrick Mahomes, but we will see. The clock is ticking.
Could the Chiefs move back? I know that's not what everyone wants to hear right now, but they have to try to reclaim some of that capital that they gave up earlier in the night. Could they trade back with a team that I don't know if it's Seattle or New England or someone coming outside the first round?
Hey, pal, Kendrick Falkoff, okay, because I've been here all night waiting up for this. I have my Dragon of Brandy right here, pal, just waiting to be consumed. Yeah, you like my dragon?
Here we go. We got a good one. Here we go.
Yeah,
with pick 26, the Houston Texans take Kalen Rutledge, the guard from Tech, a big, powerful run-orientated guard from Georgia Tech. So it is an offensive line pick, but it's a guard. So we get our second guard off the board here. We talked about it a little bit on the show this week that we thought the back end of the first round we would see a guard, but I would have thought that this could have been Emmanuel Pregnon.
That's who I
or
was thinking.
Chase Besantis for Texas A&M, but instead it's Rutledge. Peter Schrager's mocks continue to be pretty clutch because he's been high on Rutledge.
Okay, a couple of really funny ones right here. A.J. Brown for 29. Has anybody said that yet? That's not funny. That's actually a decent call. I would need to do some math. But this was really funny. Homestretch KC, draft's been a baker's dozen. That's 13 scoops of ass, bruh. I don't know why. That just made me laugh.
A.J. Brown can't be traded until post-June 1st for salary reasons. But Brian Thomas was apparently on the market earlier today, so maybe a different wide receiver trade.
Trading up for a guard is crazy.
Yeah, that's insane.
Looking like the Dolphins are going to be on the clock here now. They're trading up in front of the 49ers as well too. So the 49ers traded with the 49ers. So it looks like they're going to be on the clock.
The Bills are out of the first round.
I don't know about that. We'll see. It's just the Dolphins. Remember, they had pick 30 for the Broncos, so it might just be another pick swap back.
Let me see here on ESPN. Yeah, it's a little bit behind.
Yeah, boy, I'm going to tell you what. If the Chiefs do take Keldrick Folk at pick 29, there's going to be some really mad people on.
Yeah, but I understand that. I get that, but he's still an upgrade over what's currently there. It's the safe pick. Karlaftis was the safe pick, and Karlaftis worked. I get your thought. I understand that he doesn't have the pass rush bend or the acumen. I get that, but the Chiefs don't do well with those guys. They don't. They haven't given a lot of opportunities, so I'll agree. But they typically do better with and whether that's scheme and that's their fault or not, they do better with the power guys. They do better with the big body guys who set the edge. They just need someone who can be an upgrade over what they currently have, and that would be, I think, a pretty big upgrade.
Yeah, and I agree. And you look at his ability. the play weight is a question for him, not like body type, like he can't control his body. But is he playing closer to 280 like he did this year, where he's in a frog stance, head up over a guard? Or is he lined up on the outside? I think when he's asked to chase and rush the passer, probably one of his best games this season came against Monroe Freeling, who was a guy who went ahead of him. So there's a lot of upside. He's one of the younger players in the draft. He's very high up on Bruce Feldman's freaks list. He's a guy that's going to come in and be an A+ run stuffer right away on the edge. And again, we've hit on this on the show a lot too, is that the Chiefs on the opposite side of George Karlaftis were quite frankly one of the least efficient pass rush tandems in the NFL. So it is not hard to raise the floor of that position, and you're talking yourself into upside. Now the question is do they go for Folk? Do they go for Parker? Parker's a guy, 41.5 tackles for loss in his career at Clemson, had an 11 sack season the year prior before this year. Has a little bit more bend than some of those other guys, like we're talking about, like combined Zion Young there, Young and Folk. So I do think that could be an option for them too. So I'm not hating this.
I'm going to pivot on the Falk pick and just play devil's advocate with myself. Maybe the Chiefs just think this draft is ass, that this draft is so bad that they just need to get out of the first round with two sure things. I mean, maybe that's philosophically how they're operating.
I mean, if they thought this draft was ass, why'd they trade Trent McDuffie for pick 29? Like, I'm sure the Rams gladly would have given up a pick next year. Well, yeah, but I mean, they would have given up a pick next year for, you know what I mean? Like, if the Chiefs really thought it was that bad, trade for a 2027.
Why did the Rams trade for McDuffie and then not pick Bain to go all in on a championship? It's just like, sorry for the tangent, but it's just like breaking my brain that the Rams are so all in but not all in.
They must have loved Ty Simpson and the fact that they probably know this is Stafford's last year. It's almost like the Aaron Rodgers situation where it's like, hey, we're going to draft your replacement, and then Aaron Rodgers just decided to stay longer to spite him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would just say too that, like, I think one thing that we get caught up in is like the value of a draft at the top, whereas the middle of the draft, the second, the third, the fourth round picks, those are the guys that make up your roster. Those are the guys that are going to be contributors. Like, what is the value of Trent McDuffie at $30 million APY versus 5-6 guys playing on rookie controlled deals? And I think it's just a lot easier for 4 or 5 players on rookie deals to bring positive value to the roster, whereas McDuffie is one guy. And quite frankly, I think the Chiefs were already in a position where they had paid too many guys between Nick Bolton and George Karlaftis and Trey Smith. And we can argue about the process there. I will certainly hear that argument, as some of those players aren't as good as Trent McDuffie, but they were all cheaper than Trent McDuffie. So that's the path they chose. And I think, ideally, yeah, they would have loved to be able to trade Trent McDuffie next year. But keep in mind, then he'd be playing on the franchise tag, which would take up more cap space and be a harder pick to trade.
You probably weren't getting the same draft capital back.
No.
So
I want to highlight. I just wanted to highlight really quickly on Mansour Delane because, before we move back to that. Hold on a sec. Just forget about that. Dolphins take cornerback Chris Johnson, who I believe the Chiefs met with. So he is off the board. Obviously, less likely that they were going to take him, given that they already took Mansour Delane.
Is this the next corner?
Yep.
20 pick, 21 pick gap.
Yeah, and not Jermod McCoy, right? Like, all the talk about him and everything, like he's still falling. So I do think that injury issue is very real for him. Chris Johnson is a very Chiefs-coded player. He played quite a bit of off-man coverage this previous year, but the year prior played a lot more press man. He's one of the best run tackle supporting corners in this class. Came out, ran really well at the combine or at his pro day. And this is a guy, again, like this edge board is really polishing up nicely. And I think this, again, speaks to, over 20 picks later than the Chiefs draft Mansour Delane, the next cornerback comes off the board. So I think that probably speaks to the gap that the league saw. And if Jermod McCoy would have went pick 11, I think then we could have asked some questions about hey, the Chiefs get cold feet? Were they getting ants in their pants and get aggressive here when they might not have needed to? It looks like here they took consensus corner 1 here, or what a lot of teams viewed as the easy corner 1, and locked that position up.
And Lance Zierlein at NFL.com, who does a great job with his scouting reports over there, he had Mansour Delane as his 3rd player on the board, 3rd in the draft. He's got him as a year one starter, and he's got a quote, in his scouting report from an AFC scouting director. His coverage is very mature. He'll be one of the top 10 to 12 corners pretty quickly. That's not a bad thing if you're a Chiefs fan, to have a rookie being a top 10, 12 cornerback from day one. So it's starting to heat up here. Lots of edges still on the board for the Chiefs. Some intriguing wide receiver prospects as well. Price,
if
I want to go
Buffalo
back
takes Zion Young, I am going to drink this dragon.
Dude, I want to see it. I'm manifesting. Hey, we haven't said it at all today because we're not annoying. But if you love what we're doing here, if you love hearing us talk about this, go ahead and hit subscribe. Go ahead and follow us on YouTube. We have one of the biggest followings in Chiefs Kingdom on YouTube. I've been breaking down 100 prospects in 100 days. All these guys have been drafted today. We've got 100 prospects already up there. Their tape cut-ups and everything. So if you love what we're doing here, hit subscribe. We'd love for you to start showing up. We do a show every single day of the week. We're bringing Chiefs coverage all throughout the offseason. The offseason never stops here.
It's a great call out, and Price has done such a tremendous job. Obviously, both you guys on the Intangibles week in and week out, but over at arrowheadaddict.com, the 100 prospects in 100 days was really enlightening and a great read. If you're not prepared for this draft, like the first guy that the first time I heard about Casey Concepcion, it was reading Price's scouting report. So
I was watching him freaking beat up on my Missouri Tigers live in person. That's how I saw that. That's how I knew Casey Concepcion. All right, 22 million saved is the AAV-ish from Monster Delane to Trent McDuffie. So I do think it's fair to. I think it's very fair to bring that up. I have seen some folks say, well, why didn't you just keep McDuffie? Okay. Well, that's 22 million AAV. That right there is a pretty large number.
As long as they're pushing the cap and not being one of the least aggressive teams in the league when it comes to cash over cap. And we've all seen recently that the cap is more flexible than we previously thought in the past. So as long as it's not an excuse just to save Clark Hunt some money, I'm totally down with.
I know it isn't. I think he's going to pay. Sorry to interrupt you, but I saw a tweet it's going to cost him Clark more in cash to get Delane because of the signing bonus.
Well, year one it will be because year one.
Yeah, year one,
just year one. It won't over the course of the contract.
2027, 2028.
Right.
It's just the guaranteed money up front.
For the guy that doesn't like to spend cash and Clark Hunt. That's often something Adam criticizes him for. So I just wanted to call that out, that in year one.
You had to pick somebody in the top 10, right? Right. They had a top 10 pick. What is he going to do? Trade back? Because he's not that cheap.
Patriots are trading up from 31 to 28. So it looks like the Bills and Pats trade.
Fuck.
Now, this is interesting because everybody thinks that the Patriots are going to trade for A.J. Brown. So them moving up here in this spot, if there's a wide receiver on the board that they really like, and this is why this wasn't mentioned, right? That it wasn't mentioned that they didn't agree in principle, even though that A.J. Brown can't be traded till after June 1st. This is why they don't agree in principle, because the draft still has to happen. And if there's a wide receiver here that the Patriots really like, maybe it's Omar Cooper Jr., that trade may not happen. So that's sort of fascinating if you think about it, because the Patriots are now picking one spot ahead of the Chiefs. So let's just say, for the sake of argument, that the Eagles call up the Chiefs if a wide receiver goes and says, hey, you interested in an A.J. Brown? Maybe we can make some kind of deal for the future. I don't think they should trade for A.J. Brown.
It's a low move. That's great, because that means the Chiefs can't now take that tackle.
Yes.
Right. And this is interesting, though. I think the Patriots could be targeting a wide receiver here. The Bills
they just drafted Lomu
behind. The Bills are now picking behind the Chiefs. Oh, the Patriots. I'm sorry. Yeah. The Bills are now picking behind the Chiefs. So this is set up for another situation where potentially
did the Bills trade twice?
They did. Yeah. They traded twice. They picked up. I don't know what this draft capital is, but I saw the first one. They're just trying to acquire more picks, and I don't hate it.
They clearly don't think there are first round worthy players here. They're probably looking at this board saying, what's the difference between 20 and 50 in this draft? And they might be right.
It's going to be interesting that if the Chiefs get a good player here, like a really good player, maybe a wide receiver, and the Bills traded back, it's another situation where we get to dunk on the Bills for helping the Chiefs.
It's got to be TJ Parker or Zion Young. Come on.
The dragon is ready. The tail is off the dragon. You have to use a lot of centrifugal force to drink this thing.
How much is in there?
It's a lot. 750 milliliters in this dragon.
Oh, really? That's it.
Oh, yeah. It's Emperor Napoleon brandy, baby. Thought it was funny.
But was it?
Made a joke about it.
You've drank some of it, right? Like that whole.
Oh
dragon
yeah, that's eventually because look, the liquid doesn't move. It stays the same. You got to tilt it. It's all strategic.
It's like you're stealing its life force to sustain yourself.
Beautiful.
I just eventually want to put bourbon in it and use it as a decanter, but yet here we are. So I guess I'm forced to drink it. Chiefs pick is in, so let's see who it is.
Who's tipping the picks, by the way, on Twitter? Who are you watching, Sterling?
Well, right now my hands are full.
No, but who have you been seeing tip the picks?
Everyone. Right now, Cool Chief says, appreciate the super chat, says Peter Woods. It's looking more like Peter Woods out of Clemson. I don't hate it. It's defensive line.
Let's make sure this is really the thing, given who it's coming from.
It's D-line. If it's D-line, I'm not mad. I get he's D-tackle, but it could be worse.
With the super chat, appreciate that.
Confirmed.
Well,
hate it.
He was a preseason top 10 guy who disappointed. That's the way to look at this. But the entire Clemson, I'm sure Price and Christian will say the same thing. The entire Clemson team disappointed. TJ Parker is one of those guys. They just weren't what people expected. And this guy moves different for a defensive tackle. So if they're looking for someone to come in under Chris Jones's wing and kind of like be the interior pass rusher of the future, this could be a value. I don't hate it either.
Could I tell you my biggest hot take? If Omar Norman Lott's back and you have Kyrus Tonga and now you have Peter Woods, is Chris Jones going to be an edge? Like, does this mean Chris Jones is now going to be a full-time edge? Because that's where I think it makes the most sense. I like Peter Woods. So many Family Guy references we can make with like Peter Griffin and James Woods like combo. It's going to be great. But the only realistic thought I think I have at this exact moment is, does Chris Jones now move out to edge?
Well, I think part of it too is Chris Jones was playing more snaps than anybody in the league. And the other defensive tackles that were playing 800 snaps or whatever it was were guys in their mid-20s. And they can't have 31, 32-year-old Chris Jones out there playing every down. What they pay him to do is close out games, is to get pressures, is to hopefully get more sacks. And I think having a better rotation is going to lead to that. Now, they need George Karlaftis, I think, plays too many snaps as well. They need, I think, 8 guys on the defensive line that can rotate. And they need some change-up pitches. That's what Seattle did with last year's Super Bowl team. That's what the Eagles did 2 years ago with their Super Bowl team. So especially on the interior right now, they look like they are building a really good rotation. But now it leaves a lot to be desired on the edges. And they have to hope that Zion Young or Gabe Akis or TJ Parker is going to be there at 40. I don't know that they will be. They might have to move up to get an edge tomorrow.
I don't like it.
Or go ahead, Patrick. I have another thought, but
look, I think he's going to be, I think I would have been interested in him at 40 if he was there, but I know this is they're going meat and potatoes here in this draft, right? Like they're trying to fix their defense a little bit, but the offense has been the problem. The offense, and I know they went and they signed.
Oh no, but no.
No, what?
It's edge. No, I agree with the thought process, but I think we all agree that Kenneth Walker is going to change what defenses even do against Kansas City. Coaching staff has been a lot of revitalization there. I think edge was clear-cut the biggest need for KC. That's my personal opinion. I think it's pretty drastic. I get your thought on the offense being poor last year.
They didn't draft an edge.
Well, I know, but I still think D-line in general was a disaster.
Well, it was certainly a disaster, but they were also anemic on offense. And a big part of that was because they couldn't run the football. And presumably with Ken Walker, they are going to be able to do that. And they're making a lot of noise about running up the middle and running behind Trey and Creed. And I'm excited about all that. But my problem is you have the best quarterback in the NFL and you're sending him out there with an idiot and an unproven guy and an old man and Travis Kelce. And so you had an opportunity twice in this first round to potentially get a premium weapon for him that he can utilize throughout the rest of his prime. And you're drafting defensive interior guys when you have Chris Jones. And I'm not saying it's not a need, but you have Chris Jones at quarterbacks and you're trading up. So you gave up your draft capital for it. Like, I'm just shocked they didn't take a wide receiver given the situation around Rashee Rice. If Rashee Rice was a Boy Scout, I would not be making all this noise about taking a wide receiver in the first round of this draft. But he's not. And if they're gonna re-sign him, if they're making these moves thinking that they're gonna re-sign Rashee Rice, they're even dumber for that, because they would be idiots to re-sign him because he's a ticking time bomb. So I don't know. Maybe there's a guy, like maybe it's the Louisville wide receiver or one of these guys that they think that they're going to be able to get at 40 and they feel really good about, and they'll put a clown suit on me and I'll gladly wear it because I think Peter Woods is a good player and I think Mansour Delane is one of the best players in the draft. I just am frustrated for Patrick Mahomes because I would like to see a return to the explosive offense that they had when they had Tyreek Hill, because he gives them their best chance to win defensive side.
Go ahead, Sterling. I'll follow you.
I just think, to me, that's with last year how they were playing the Chiefs, because their run game was 3 scoops of ass. You almost could have had JSN and Puka, and you would have saw. I don't want to say them struggle because they're so good, but they weren't going to put up insane numbers because the teams were dropping 8 guys. They said we don't even have to put guys in the box because Pacheco will run into the offensive linemen. Right? So, like, they didn't need to do that. I think Kenneth Walker changes the equation on a lot of things. You were not a fan of Matt Nagy. He's gone, right? New wide receiver coach. Jets are taking Omar Cooper right now. So, as a heads up, Omar Cooper going 1 pick now after Peter Woods. But, no, I think there's more reason to be optimistic about the offense, even with a similar cast. Just the addition of Kenneth Walker and a revamped coaching staff. I trust Andy Reid to revamp that thing. The Chiefs' defense needed a little more help there, especially on the defensive line.
I think this harkens back to what I said about the Chiefs prioritizing balance over loading Patrick Mahomes up. They see him as a talent elevator where they need to give him less talent than almost any quarterback in the league, and he can still get it done. And he's done it before. But Patrick, I agree with you to some extent. They are asking him to play on all Madden when they don't need to do that. They could make life easier on Patrick Mahomes. But I also think this kind of plays into the league meta where they think, well, they're not letting us be explosive on offense anyways, so maybe we're going to run the ball, get better on defense, and just wait for the lead to shift back to a more friendly style for Patrick Mahomes.
Let's get a reaction from Price and Christian on this pick of Peter Woods and my crash out over ignoring wide receiver.
Yeah, I think, first off, you start with the player, and he's a guy that I know Adam hit on a little bit as far as who is a consensus top 10 pick headed into this season. There's lots to like about Peter Woods. He's 5th on Bruce Feldman's freaks list. He has a lot of traits as a penetrating 3-tech, and that's one thing that I'd point out here as far as the pick goes is there's not many guys in this bucket in this class. One of the things that I wrote about a lot in the 100 Prospects Project is what type of interior defensive lineman are the Chiefs going to take? Their interior defensive line is thin. You've got 30-year-old or 30-plus-year-old Chris Jones, Kyrus Tonga, who's a true nose, is going to play about 30% of the snaps, Omar Norman Lott coming off 6 games in ACL, and Zach Pickens. That's their interior defensive line room. So here they bring another guy that profiles hopefully as the best pass rusher to play next to Chris Jones. And you have an opportunity now to help Chris Jones be a little bit better of a more efficient player where he's not playing 60, 70% of the snaps in a game where Peter Woods can penetrate. Honestly, once Caleb Banks went off the board and Peter Woods comes off the board here, like, I don't know who the next penetrating 3-tech that's going to go. It's probably Grayson Holton out of Oklahoma. But they grab a player at a position that there's scarcity. And also, like, I think we're going to go out of the first round without another edge rusher taken. Like, it was Malachi Lawrence, and we haven't seen an edge rusher come off the board. So I do think there's a very good chance at pick 40 that they may still have a TJ Parker, a Zion Young, a Keldrick Folk on the board. I think they're playing the board well. I mean, honestly, I had the thought of, like, do they just trade down here? But it looks like lots of teams are wanting to get out here. We've seen several trade downs at this point. And I would still throw out Gabe Akers from Illinois. So overall, I get that some people will be frustrated by this because everyone told themselves edge and wide receiver is what they need, and they did not go in that direction. They attacked premium positions. I think they managed the board fairly well as far as, like, we see what the disparity at the corner position was. I think the Caleb Banks pick is pretty scary where he got picked at, frankly, as far as defensive line goes. So I don't hate it. I'm not going to sit here and say that I love it because there are some concerns about Peter Woods. He is smaller in stature. You want to talk about short arms? I believe he's in the 5th percentile of short arms for interior defensive linemen. He's a guy who kind of had a rough process. Comes up to the combine, sub 300 pounds at 298 pounds. You expect him to come out here and test really well. Then he doesn't test. Then he goes to his combine, pulls a hammy, goes to his pro day, pulls a hammy, doesn't even complete his pro day. So I think the play weight, what do they envision him as a player? But hey, the upside there, it's immense. This is a guy that was very highly thought of coming into this process. And we get 2 first-round picks that the Chiefs did not meet with for 30 visits, I believe.
Yeah, for me, I like the player in theory. We just haven't seen what he could become. I mean, Price talked about that 5th percentile arm length. That is not fantastic. I think that the vision here that Veach has is he comes in and he is the next Chris Jones. Well, Chris Jones has 34.5-inch arms. Like, he is no stubby T-Rex there on the defensive line. Like, so I kind of see the vision. And I was even okay with them not taking D-line here just because there were so many prospects still available and the cost to trade up from 40 is basically nothing. So I don't necessarily hate that aspect of it. But I'm going to be honest, Patrick, I'm with you. Wide receiver should have been the choice here. And I just think there is so much uncertainty with that room. And Xavier Worthy and his development, Rashee Rice off the field and sometimes on the field, by the way. And I don't like the idea of Chris Jones playing edge. I know he has, for a majority of the pass rushing snaps over the past couple of years, he's a defensive tackle. I understand he's, playing edge. He's not the best edge that could be out there. We're diminishing our returns on that player because we have a lack of players on the edge. It should have been edge. It should have been wide receiver.
You want Chris Jones. Go ahead, Bryce.
Oh, I was going to say, it does look like in some relevant news here, there is a pick in here for the Tennessee Titans. And it does look like Keldrick Folk will be off the menu at pick 40 as the Tennessee Titans trade back into the first round, and they take Keldrick Folk.
Dude, the Bills are just gathering, acquiring, swallowing up draft capital.
Yes,
That's incredible.
When you do this on mock draft simulators, it feels unrealistic to trade back 3 times in a row, but they've done it.
Yeah. And I mean, they're missing their 2nd round pick from the DJ Moore trade, so they're probably trying to recoup some of that value. But hey, I felt good about Keldrick Folk going in the first round. I'm honestly surprised it's this late, but that's one less guy. But I'll just come back to, like, I do think that there's a chance that pick 40, a wide receiver is going to be there that they could like. I know a lot of people liked Omar Cooper. I still think Chris Bell could be an option there for them. He's a guy who does a lot of Rashee Rice things. They had him on a Thursday visit. He was on track to be a first-round pick before he tore his ACL in November. So that could be on the menu too.
I guess for me, I am still a little shocked. Again, I like Peter Woods. I'm not arguing that. I think he's going to be a really solid player. Again, you know my thoughts on Mansour Delane. I think he's going to be a really, really good corner. I am still befuddled, blown away. What the hell's going on and what's the plan at edge? Like, you look at the free agents at edge, and it's not a list of who's who. It's maybe a list of who's who 15 years ago. But again, when we are now hoping and praying for 37-year-old Cam Jordan to limp on into Arrowhead to help, to be a starter, by the way, that's where the Chiefs are currently at. Again, this might now be the run of edges. This is what I said I was worried about. I said if the Chiefs didn't go edge at 29, Well, now Keldrick Folk's gone. What if Zion Young goes? I don't think they're going for Cassius Howell. They thought Ruben Bain's arms were short. Cassius Howell's are even smaller.
You're begging
by the plan.
You're begging for Cam Jordan and Tyreek Hill at this point. Like, when I think about the Chiefs last year, the big things that pop out at me is they couldn't rush the damn passer. They could not rush the passer, and nobody could get open in man coverage. And here we are at the end of night one where they have 2 first-round picks, and they've got a cornerback and a defensive tackle.
They did just draft a pass rusher. I think one thing to think about here is the Chiefs' best pass rusher for the last decade has been a defensive tackle. And we're shifting to a place in the league where guys like Dexter Lawrence are valued almost as much as guys like Micah Parsons. So if they're, maybe they just see it like, we want our juice on the inside, we want our run stoppers on the outside. You'd love to have that 74th pick, because I do think there are rotation edges. I don't know if Christian and Price, you guys feel like that would have been a spot for maybe a rotational edge that could have played, 300, 400 snaps, but they've kind of lost that opportunity now.
Yeah, I just don't understand. There's a bit of redundancy here with Omar Norman-Lott and Peter Woods. Like, I understand that Peter Woods could be this penetrating, 3-tech or 1-tech, the next level. But then what's the point in drafting Omar Norman-Lott a year ago? Like, he had great upside. He played fairly well while he was on the field. It just kind of seems like we're doubling up at a position where we're going to get guys returning anyway.
He blew out his knee, though. So, and if you think back to Turk Wharton, right? Turk Wharton blew out his knee and wasn't right for a year. And then 2 years later, he was right. So maybe they're thinking, well, Peter Woods and Omar Norman-Lott together, post Chris Jones, that looks pretty good. Khyiris Tonga is 29 years old. He's not a spring chicken either. His deal is basically a 2-year deal. The third year is nil. So maybe they're just playing the long game here.
I want to reiterate. I like Peter Woods. I like Delane. FAU or Gelati is your starting edge rusher right now. I just want to reiterate that is where the Chiefs D-line is at. Again, I get you with Omar Norman-Lott if he's not ready. Again, I like Peter Woods. You bring in Tonga. Again, your starting edge on the other side of Karlaftis right now is FAU or Gelati.
Yeah, and I would say to the Omar Norman-Lott point, Omar Norman-Lott did not play like Omar Norman-Lott at Tennessee this year in Kansas City when he was on the field. He was much more of a nose tackle type of player, and that's how they used him. So maybe I'm not sure what the vision there is. Like, I've said that they probably need at least 1 or 2 more interior defensive linemen just to make it through the season. So maybe Norman-Lott is going to be more of a nose 2-gap or run stuffing type of guy, or maybe Peter Woods is going to be the guy. I'm not sure. I would say Peter Woods' body type definitely transitions more towards that. But also, like, if you were to put them in the spider chart together, I think Omar Norman-Lott and Peter Woods look very similar. But also, like, we're forgetting one thing. Chris Jones does not need to play 70% of the snaps. He is 30 years old. It's okay for there to be a snap where Khyiris Tonga and Peter Woods are on the field together. Chris Jones is catching his wind. Like, that's how you're going to get the best of them. And you look at some of these teams, basically every team that's won the Super Bowl in the last half decade or so has either employed Patrick Mahomes or had a kick-ass defensive line with a heavy rotation. So they can get to this point where they kind of have that hockey substitution line where we're bringing in waves of guys who can win. You look at what the Seahawks just put on the field with Byron Murphy and with Lawrence and all those guys. Like, they had waves. Yeah, so I do think that there's a chance that they're able to do this and hopefully improve the line overall, because George Kalafdis plays a lot of snaps too. And yes, I know that involves an edge rusher, and they do need to address an edge rusher. And if they continue to ignore it, it will be a problem. Sweet Jesus, the Seahawks take Jadarian Price at pick 32. Wow, that one shocks me. I just don't see it there with him. Like, I like the player, but at 32, wow.
Hey, shout out Devin, one of my buddies, big Seahawks fan. He was begging for this pick. Begging for Jadarian
This
Price.
reeks of Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Oh, it does, yeah.
Like, we're set, we're good. This is our one hole. We're just going to fill it with a guy and hope it works and those type of things. I get that they're like Jadarian Price will probably go high in fantasy drafts. I think that there's a chance that he is an impactful player. But it's just like, where else could you have addressed the needs on your roster beyond just running back?
I will say this. The Chiefs' interior D-line went from buns to, I think, phenomenal in 1 year. Edge is still a huge issue, and can Peter Woods and that big body kick outside. In fairness, Tonga's going to be more of a first and second down guy only, right? So we know his limitations. We've talked about Chris Jones. Yeah, what's the thought with Omar Norman Lott? But yeah, either way, I like Peter Woods. It's kind of funny. I don't love the positions they play, but I love the players. Like, I don't know if that makes sense to anyone else. Like,
It does.
I don't love the positions that the Chiefs drafted in the first round, but I really like the players. I don't really have a question of if the players will be good. I have a question of how do they fit with the massive holes that still are huge on this Chiefs roster.
I just hope they don't put Peter Woods on the Omar Norman Lott diet. You know, like let's not bulk him up and make like an interior speed rusher a nose tackle again. We already made that mistake last year, and it could be why he hurt his knee. Just really quick on the Jadarian Price whatever debacle that is. Well, thank you, Seattle, for giving us Kenneth Walker when he's ripping off 60-yard runs, and Jadarian Price looks pretty mid there in the Pacific Northwest. We're going to be very happy with you guys.
I just think when you look at this Chiefs offense next year, there has to be some kind of major change. They've alluded to it, but a lot of people don't have the confidence that Andy is actually going to commit to running behind Trey and Creed with Kenneth Walker and really changing the way. If they can do that, right, that the receivers that they have, Rashee Rice, and if Xavier Worthy takes a step forward, I know I've been panicky about the offense and the wide receiver situation, but there are worse spots to be in than having Rashee Rice if he's actually on the field. And if you believe Xavier Worthy can take that step forward, and you still got Travis Kelce running around out there, like, okay, if your defense is significantly improved over last year with these picks, and you've got Patrick Mahomes, and you have the running game, and you actually utilize it to open up, to bring those safeties and those linebackers down to make your offense as effective as it was, you know, in the year that Patrick won the MVP, I can see why they're like, look, we have other needs to fill. We're going to have Rice, we think, on the field. We believe in Xavier. We can wait at wide receiver. Maybe we get it, you know, maybe pick up one of these tight ends later in the draft. Like, I can see the thinking. I don't love it because I personally don't have the buy-in on Rice and Worthy, but they're there with them every day, like especially Worthy, right? Like, he's the big key in this. If Worthy is McCole Hardman, we have a huge problem on offense next year. If he is the first-round pick that they took, who just didn't advance last year because of the injury, it's a totally different story. And I want to ask you, Price, what's your take on Xavier Worthy next year?
Yeah, I certainly think that the injury here early in the season derailed him, and I think that Xavier Worthy is a player that could benefit from the improved run game. You think about, I truly think, like, if we're talking about the biggest ailments for the offense, their inability to run the ball and take advantage of light boxes is a major concern. And his ability to get over the top could be increased. I think that they need to continue to use him downfield and over the middle of the field. I get he's slight of frame, but if you go back to what he did at Texas and was doing well, this wasn't a gadget guy. You know, I remember having this talk with Sterling when they took Xavier Worthy, that he wasn't a gadget guy, that he was a real wide receiver. They've kind of reduced his role to more of a gadget type of guy. And I think what you have in Tyquan Thornton as a true X guy who can go down and stretch the field, that creates a lot of opportunities for Xavier Worthy. So I totally agree that this was my take. In my predictive mock, I had the Chiefs waiting until day 3 to address wide receiver. And I said, I think that they are going to bet on better coaching, healthy and out of trouble Rashee Rice, which is a gamble, let's be clear. Xavier Worthy, healthy with better coaching. We don't know anything about Jalen Royals at this point, and including Tyquan Thornton in the offense, and then the improvement from the run game. So I can see it here. I can understand what they're doing. And someone put this comment out on the board a little bit ago that I totally like. You guys, you know, in the comments, these people are saying, like, it's worse than a C, it's a D or whatever. There was no situation that they were coming out of round 1, round 2, and round 3 filling their holes. Like, they're just not going to fill all the holes that they have on the roster because there's too many. There was too many premium positions that they had questions at. You know, there was a lot of people on Twitter throughout these past couple of months that said tackle, tackle, tackle. They got to take a tackle. They didn't address that need tonight. A lot of people think wide receivers are top need. They didn't address that need tonight, right? You know, Sterling's talking about edge. Like, there's just not enough picks for them. It's not going to be a perfect roster. And quite honestly, team building wise, that's life paying a quarterback. That's life paying the players that they are paying at this point. So, you know, I think overall, I'm fairly pleased with how it goes. I'm not going to say I'm ecstatic. I'm not going to give it an A+ because I do think there are some questions about Peter Woods. I like the Delane pick more than the Woods pick, but overall, I think that they navigated the board the best that they could.
I think my wide receiver worries are less about they didn't get a guy and more about what is this signal? Does this show us that Andy Reid thinks everything is fine, that he's going to continue to scheme everybody open and bust zones, and he doesn't need – they go out and get Jordan Tyson or Casey Concepcion or one of those guys that can beat man coverage. It shows a little bit of an evolution in the offensive scheme, and it just seems like they think those guys are ready to go. And maybe Chad O'Shea, the new wide receiver coach, actually gets Jalen Royals on the field. Maybe he helps Xavier Worthy discover where the sideline is. You know, maybe he gets Rashee Rice playing hard down in, down out, and Tyquan Thornton is no longer stuck behind the corpse of Juju and the carcass of Hollywood Brown. So maybe they think they've got 4 guys that are good enough, especially when 15 is the quarterback. You hate to put that much on his shoulders, especially after he's coming off a season-ending surgery. But it kind of seems like unless they do something at 40, that's probably what they're going to do. But I do agree with Patrick. You made the point earlier that this is a deep tight end class. They could bring somebody in at not even 40. I think Price and Christian, you can answer this, but I think there are guys that no longer have 148 either, but at 109, they could probably find a tight end who could play a little this year.
The tight end or wide receiver. I think this is a very, very deep wide receiver class. My only thing is, if we're going to forego picking a wide receiver, we got to start utilizing the ones we have, right? And Xavier Worthy was a prime example. Like, we can say that Tyquan is going to play the X. That's just not what happened last year. Like, Xavier Worthy was the speed X on this team for a majority of the snaps up until Rashee Rice got back. And if you're going to use a guy like Xavier Worthy, who has a hard time beating press coverage because he's got a slight build, and he wasn't fantastic at doing that while he was at Texas, it's like you're just not going to get 100% out of him. So if we're going to keep drafting the same types of players, like if we get another Xavier Worthy type of speedy sort of player that's got a slight build at pick 109, it's, well, what's the point? He's not going to play. I guess this is the Jalen Royals conversation, kind of, with where he would have fit into the offense. I think if you're going to pick somebody like that late in the draft, it's got to be somebody like, and I'm not a huge fan of this player, but Elijah Surratt, somebody who can come in and play the X, somebody who can be a third down weapon and actually be a threat and be on the field. I think that's the biggest problem with the guys we have right now. Everybody's trying to do the same thing. Not everybody can get on the field. So Elijah
Ted Hurst.
Oh, I love Ted Hurst. Ted Hurst would be fantastic. Malachi Fields, another guy I'm not super high on, but a wide receiver who could, be that third down guy for you.
Well, let's look ahead to tomorrow. So the Chiefs have the 8th pick in the second round at number 40. The order goes like this. It's the 49ers, the Cardinals, the Bills, the Raiders, the Giants, the Texans, the Browns, and then the Chiefs. So if you're a team wide receiver, we know the Browns took Casey Concepcion. They're probably not taking another wide receiver. There are some teams with potential wide receiver needs ahead of them. Who are you guys looking for early here in the second round? A lot of really interesting guys still on the board. If you're, Price or Christian mentioned earlier, like what if they go double barrel on cornerbacks, like guys like Avion Terrell, he's still out there at cornerback. Jermon McCoy is still out there. Cassius Hill, CJ Parker at edge are still out there. Denzel Boston's still out there. Like, who are we feeling for this 40th pick, given what the Chiefs did going defense in round 1?
Zion Young, baby. Give me the psycho. Give me the Frank Clark. Give me the blood in the water. Give me the guy that they had to turn the TV mics off because he's yapping at the Auburn during a coin flip during the game saying he's going to do this on his mama. And then he backed it up and did it. Give me Zion Young if he is somehow there. I actually do think McCoy at 40 is intriguing. I know it's a corner, and I've been talking about positional value and the Chiefs team needs. I wonder if at 40 they're palatable to the bone plug that is going on with his knee, because he was going to be a top 10 player. I mean, no one can deny that dude is talented. I'd be intrigued because you don't get a chance to get blue chip guys at 40 all that often. It took a heart disease for Trey Smith to get a blue chip guard. It took a patellar tendon and maybe some other stuff with Josh Simmons to go to 32. Sometimes the risk is worth the reward. I still think Zion Young, though, if he's somehow there at 40, that's my number one pick with a bullet.
You think they'll go defense, and not address the offensive side of the ball in their first 3 picks? That's a bold move.
I'm a bold man. I'm drinking bleeping brandy from a dragon tonight. What do you think I am?
Yeah, that's fair.
This ain't no game.
It's just the way the board looks. I think they should move up and get TJ Parker and pair him with his old college teammate and Peter Woods. Do what the Rams did with Fisk and Verse. It's already worked. These guys can continue being teammates. Either that or Chris Bell out of Louisville. I think if he didn't hurt his knee and have the season-ending surgery, he probably would have been a first-round pick. Kind of a Kirkland brand AJ Brown. Those are the 2 guys I like heading into tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll second that. I think Parker, I'll put Gabe Akis in there as well too. He's been one of my guys throughout this whole process. He's a nice blend of what you want as far as the bend and the edge, but can also set the edge. And he packs a powerful punch. Was asked to do a lot against the run for that Illinois defense, which is a 3-4. He was asked to stand up and protect the run with just a nose tackle to his side and do a lot against the run. A 2-time state champion wrestler, another Bruce Feldman freaks list guy. And I Zion Young, TJ Parker, Gabe Akis, that whole bucket. Personally, I know this won't be popular. I would probably support defense here and take an edge there at 40, because this is where we get into wide receivers after Omar Cooper. To me, this is where we start getting into flavors a little bit more. What are you wanting? I think Chris Bell profiles as that power slot. Obviously, he's coming off the ACL. He's out of Louisville. I think he would make some sense for the Chiefs in the sense that they can slow play his development coming off the injury. He did a ton of Rashee Rice the year before when he had what's the kid from the Saints that they drafted, the quarterback?
Oh, Chuck.
Yeah, Tyler Shuck. Yeah, when Shuck was in the offense, he was throwing the ball downfield more. He's got traits for days. But I mean, really, man, now you're talking about okay, you want an X. Well, that's your Ted Hurst, that's your Dejon Stribling, those type of guys. If you want a slot, you've got your Antonio Williams, your Deion Burks. There's all sorts of different flavors out there. So I think that they could possibly get that guy on down the board a little bit. This is where I feel like pick 74 is going to kind of hurt a little bit being gone, because that's the spot where you're like, boy, there might have been a wide receiver there. So we'll just have to see how the board plays. But yeah, I totally agree. I think those edge guys are the ones you want to see.
For me, it's wide receiver, no question. And I think there are 3 guys. You have Jeremy Bernard, who is a coach's player. He does all the little things right. Very, very well-rounded. I heard him described as a B+ everywhere, which the Chiefs wide receiver room is unstable. This is a player who can bring some stability. If you want to go on the complete opposite side of that, Chris Brazzell is a dude who has had some up and downs there at Tennessee, but he is a trade C guy. I mean, we're talking 6'4", ran a 4.37. He is an elite athlete, and he put on some crazy stuff on the tape. And then Deion Burks, who I think is another player who's a little bit underrated, but a guy who can beat man coverage. And if you're looking for one of those guys you want to see an impact, Deion Burks could be your guy as well.
I feel like Brazzell's gonna go. Remember when Christian Watson kind of snuck into the top 40 because of the traits? I feel like that could happen tomorrow with him.
Oh, somebody's gonna fall in love with him. And same thing with Jeremy Bernard. It would not surprise me if the first 3 picks are McCoy, Bernard, and Brazzell.
Let me throw out a name, and anybody can jump in on this if you've got an opinion on it. What if the Chiefs go Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, the safety out of Toledo, who a lot of people had ranked really highly? He's a monster, big guy, if they're going defense, he feels like a Spags type of guy that moves around.
Yeah, he's kind of that guy, like a big nickel type of guy. Like he can play out of the slot. He's not a guy that you want to carry a guy down the field. Like he's probably not a deep safety for him. I would worry a little bit just about what the Chiefs think of Jaden Hicks, who took a little bit of a step back this year. I think they would play a similar role. Like the player, love he didn't come in as much of an athlete as I had hoped. He was someone that I was really hoping was going to kind of test like that twitchy Nicky Manwari. Wasn't quite there as a player, but Toledo's done a good job of developing those secondary guys, and I do think that he could be useful players, particularly in the box. He's got some really fun tape as far as being able to generate turnovers, has some really good fun turnovers, especially the forced fumbles. He's very good at that. I wouldn't hate it. I think there's value there. But boy, the safety room with Gilman, with Connor, with Hicks, and then Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, and you add in the corners, what they've invested there. I think I would rather lean defensive line at that point. But either way, I wouldn't hate that pick just because of the value and what the player is. Frankly, if they're going to take Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, I'd rather them just wait on safety and see what they can find on day 3 at that position, because I think
Clark, baby.
Yeah, Bud Clark's a much different player. He's more of a true safety, a little bit older of a player too, or a free safety.
Smoke that Bud Clark, baby. Come on.
Patrick, your guy, Caden McDonald's still on the board.
I mean,
do they need another defensive tackle?
He said they need 2 more.
I like.
He did say they need 2 more.
Yeah, I mean, look, you can never have enough defensive linemen, right? But like, you're a big Chris Bell guy, aren't you, Adam?
Yeah, but I'm going to be honest with you guys. A.J. Brown's my favorite receiver in the league, and I already fell for the Jonathan Mingo once. And so I'm like, I'm pumping the brakes a little bit, but the way he runs away from people at 6'2", 220, just you kind of see that kind of game breaker. But I like the guys that are on the board. I think 40 is shaping up very nicely for them. And let's remember, they have an extra 3rd-round pick next year that if they want to use as ammunition for this kind of rebound year after they hit 6-11 last year, to kind of right the ship and make sure that their culture doesn't continue to kind of take a hit, maybe they could use that ammunition and make up for not having 74.
I want to ask this question to everybody. It's the end of round 1. I think our audience right now is as high as it's been the whole evening as people check in for the for the fallout here. Are the Chiefs better now than they were last season? I'll start with Sterling.
So you lose Chanel, you lose Watson, you lose McDuffie, you lose the defensive line, which is an addition by subtraction. I'll say Mahomes is back week 1 just to make this conversation easier. You lose Hollywood Brown, which maybe that just leaves Xavier Worthy playing his more natural wide receiver role, which I think he was better at either way. Maybe that leads more snaps for Tyquan Thornton, who I think should have had more snaps to begin with. Oh, yeah, then Kenneth Walker. It's a great question. If they're better, I'll say by the end of the draft they'll be better. I think it's too hard to say right now because basically we're saying, can Delane be McDuffie? That seems a little bold. Can Peter Woods be better than whoever was on the defensive line on the inside? I think the answer is yes there. You also have Tonga there. I can't quite say they're better after this first round, but I think after the draft they will be. I think Kenneth Walker changes the offense and the complexion that much.
Adam?
Man, I'm just thinking about Peter Woods being an upgrade on Derek Nottie and Mike Pennell and Jerry Tillery. That is pretty exciting. You think about, okay, Delane and Noel Williams, can they eventually be as good as Watson and McDuffie? And I think they can, but that's not a day one thing. I like Alohi Gilman. I think he can replace Brian Cooks. And then you start thinking about Kingsley Suamataia and Josh Simmons on the left side of that line. If they can both take another step forward, that offensive line and that running game can be significantly better with Kenneth Walker. And the thing that they didn't have last year that I think hurt the offense more than anything is this team is the least explosive running game over the past 2 seasons. There are a plethora of stats that show that. And if they can rectify that and give Patrick Mahomes a little bit of space to operate, suddenly the offensive line is going to look better. The receivers are going to look better. I think Juju Smith-Schuster and Hollywood Brown were holding the Chiefs back developmentally by being out there last year. So are they better? No, but I don't think they're any worse. And they have an opportunity starting with pick 40 tomorrow to be a better team next year.
Christian?
I think you can pull out all the negatives that you want, and they all get outweighed by the Kenneth Walker signing. I just think that was so monumental. That was such a massive shift in the offense. I mean, say what you want about Isaiah Pacheco. I don't want to dog on him too much. I feel like that bell has been rung enough. But you are going from like bottom 2 in the league in your running offense to potentially top 5. That's our offensive line has the capability of being one of those offensive lines that superstar running backs run behind. And I think you add somebody like Kenneth Walker, that changes everything. That you talk about changing the equation here, changing the math for defenses, that changes the math. And adding somebody like him, I understand we lost Trent McDuffie, but that's just too much to overcome as far as a net positive goes. Like it was just incredible. I just think there's no chance that the Chiefs are worse this year than they were last year.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that we forget too is that when Patrick Mahomes tore his ACL, they were fighting for their playoff lives in that game, right? Like this was a flawed team with Mahomes on the field. Now, I will say that, you know, the team, it certainly wasn't as bad as it looked when they walked off the field in Las Vegas. That was a team that was tanking, and people are using that as a proof of what this roster is without Patrick Mahomes. I don't think that that's fair. They said a lot of guys who probably wouldn't have sit normally, but I'll call it a push. I know that's a bit of a cop-out. I think the combination of Watson and McDuffie is better than what they have on the outside. I think, again, talking to the Mansour Delane pick, I think this notion that we're just like, okay, Noel Williams, pencil him in, lock him in as a starter. Like, I like what I saw. I'm intrigued. It doesn't, like, player progression isn't always linear. It just doesn't always mean that the arrow is always pointing 100% up. Christian Fulton, a guy who looked good when he got on the field, but struggled to get on the field, has never played 17 games in a season. There's questions there too. Kader Kohu coming off an ACL injury, all those things, and then you factor in they lost one of their best safeties in Brian Cook. You like Alohi Gilman, but Alohi Gilman was traded away from a team that was competing for the playoffs in the middle of the year. Now they got a good player back in Odafe Owe. They lose Leo Chanel, a big part of that run defense, and I just think like the upgrades, like Christian mentioned, to the run game, that I think is going to carry its weight in massive values for the offense as a whole. But look, man, I've said it all year, and I'll say it again. If they're bringing in Kenneth Walker to run out of shotgun and run RPOs, it's not going to be as positive as they want to. They've got to get under center. They got to run more power. They got to get these freak athletes on the inside, Trey Smith, Creed Humphrey, and King Tusulamati moving bodies, which is where Kenneth Walker was the best at. So right now I'm calling it a push. I'm open to see what they do on day 2 and day 3 overall. I do see the vision, though, here with what they're doing, but I definitely agree with Sterling. They've got to upgrade edge in the rest of this draft.
So it sounds like the running game is a big fulcrum point for all of us. And I agree with you all that if the running game is better and they're able to do what we hope they're able to do, it's going to make a drastic change for the entire offense. But we also know that running back is a very precarious position. So while I'm excited that they got Ken Walker III, he's got some injury history in his past. And behind him on the depth chart, there's not really anybody. You got Brashard Smith back there. Kareem Hunt is gone right
DeMarcado.
now.
I think DeMarcado.
DeMarcado, erasure.
Okay, but like, is there anybody in this draft? I know this is not a deep running back draft, but there's a few intriguing players out there. The Nebraska running back, Emmett Johnson, right? Like, so we found a favorite for price. Like, who are the guys that you think I think if running game is going to be a focus for the Chiefs offense, something they want to improve, they need some more young bodies back there that they drafted. Who are those guys and why? And let's start with Price since he's flying a flag already.
Yeah, I think running back, I would definitely wait till day 3. My favorite pairing for the Chiefs at running back is to get a guy who can do some stuff on early downs. I think they've got their third down guys between DeMarcado and Brashard Smith. Hopefully he can develop into more of a pass catching back and a guy who can stick on the field for more than RPO screens. I like Katron Allen out of Penn State. He's a guy who can get north and south. They nicknamed the Fat Man, all-time nickname there for him. He's just a guy that's going to take advantage of what's ahead of him and be efficient. I think they need to find their Kyle Manung guy with what the Bears had with DeAndre Swift. They've got their DeAndre Swift and Kenneth Walker, who I think has more upside than DeAndre Swift. And a couple other names. I like the Indiana tandem of Kalen Black and Roman Hemby. I think both guys, again, can just take advantage of what the offensive line's putting them there. I prefer Kalen Black. He's another freaks list guy, a guy who's probably one of the better pass protectors in this class outside of Jeremiah Love. But I think they can wait to address that on day 3. And just with the missed snaps overall, whether it be the injuries or the fact that Kenneth Walker has never played 50% of the snaps in his career, part of the reason why he was so dominant in the playoffs is because of Zach Charbonnet and his ability to spell him. So I definitely think they got to keep Kenneth Walker fresh. I would not mind seeing them address running back. And I also think they can manage to carry 4 running backs during the season because of the impact they can have on special teams. You talk yourself into Brashard Smith being a returner, being a weapon in the jet sweep game or in the screen game, those type of things. There is a way to keep 4.
You can't tell me nothing, and maybe it's the dragon bourbon that's flowing through my veins, but I keep picturing Peter Woods and Chris Jones lining up together, and just the nightmare that has to be for interior offensive line. That's terrifying.
I love us going through the absolute fan experience here. We went from ew, Mansour Delane, Peter Woods, don't love it, to just imagine.
You can't tell me when this flows.
We always do that. We do
through
that.
my veins.
Hey, welcome to the AFC West, Tyler Linderbaum, right?
Yeah. Fan is short for fanatic. And hey, that's what we're here for. That's what Arrowhead Addict was built upon, is connecting with fans and not putting everything through the lens of, we've got to be correct and accurate. And we're here for the reactions. We're here with you guys going through this together. We're fans who just love the game. So that's what it's all about. And tomorrow morning, we're going to be waking up, retweeting those Peter Woods sacks, retweeting those Mansour Delane coverage snaps, and we'll be back. We're back and better than ever. We've never been more back.
3 more running backs for you. I like the Jerick McKinnon types. Desmond Reed out of Pittsburgh. Damon Claiborne out of Wake Forest. And then a bigger project guy, converted wide receiver from Clemson. Another Clemson guy, Adam Randall. I know a lot of people would say, well, we just picked Brashard Smith, another converted wide receiver. Well, every kind of running back project you take in the 7th round isn't going to hit. You got to take multiple bites at the apple to find, the needle in the haystack there. And I think they should wait late. I mean, they should wait to maybe just see who's there at 210 and get a running back at that spot.
Can I interest you guys in Jonah Coleman out of Washington? Sort of a bowling ball, third down, pass blocking, goal line guy.
Did they miss their chance to draft him by trading 74, though?
Oh, I don't think so. I think the league, he's a little slow out of the backfield, so I could see some teams being pretty hesitant, but he's a guy I could see at our 100 pick.
Is he this year's Cam Scatterbo?
He's not quite as violent and physical. And by the way, I do think there are some comparisons, though, to him. He plays with soft hands, an underrated receiver for his size. But he's not quite that bowling ball. The contact balance isn't as good as him. I think he's got better wiggle. And, I mean, he does rip off chunk gains as far as, I think he's a little bit more explosive than Scatterbo. But there's a reason why we don't have testing data on Jonah Coleman, right? And, this is a man, by the way, who openly compared himself to Clyde Edwards-Helaire. People ask, who do you see yourself like? And he's like, I see myself like Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Complimentary. So, there's some people who might get the ick. I believe that was at the Combine or his pro day that he did that, which, I mean, hey, props to him for knowing himself and understanding what type of player he is. But yeah, I think he's 5'9", 230,
5'8", 220. Yeah.
Yeah. He's bowling ball. Yeah.
How do we feel about the Jamari Taylor out of Virginia?
he kind of reminds me a little bit of. Did you get to him? I got to him and Le'Veon Moss. I didn't write up Jamari Taylor, but he's another bigger body guy. Like I just think that there's a lot of these guys who are early down guys who are going to be first and second down guys who don't really have much in the pass game. The kid from Texas A&M, he's kind of in this bucket too. Like these are all just guys I think can get north and south and be more power guys. I personally like. I think the question that the Chiefs need to ask themselves about the run game is like, are they going more to a gap scheme or are they going more to a zone scheme? Because if they are going to a zone scheme, then I think the Adam Randalls, the Damon Claibornes, Emmett Johnson, if they were so inclined, like those are guys who are better fits. If they're going for more of the gap duo, then I think they need to look in that bucket of the Le'Veon Moss, the Roman Hemby, the Kalen Black, or someone like that who can just get north and south and read what's in front of them and take advantage of it.
All right, look, we've been on for a long time. We're going to be back tomorrow. Price and Christian will be back for round 2, a really important round for the Chiefs, going defense. It's intriguing to think about what they're going to do at 40. They're going to be picking early once again. And before we go, I just want to ask everybody, and we'll start with Sterling, what is your non-negotiable, have to have it pick in round 2? Give me a position. Got to be edge. Edge no matter what from Sterling.
I thought
Adam.
it was Bane no matter what, but apparently, because I just wanted to do the Bane mask. I was born in the backfield. You merely adopted it. Like, that's all I wanted.
Yeah.
I don't ask for much.
Yeah.
I guess edge. I hate being non-negotiable. You got to let the board come to you. Someone made the point earlier that consensus teams deviate from consensus at this point. So you're going to have someone at 40 that shouldn't be there at 40. And that's who I think the Chiefs should take. I know we want wide receiver and an edge, but I think they missed their opportunities to make sure they got those players possibly. So now they just have to mine value for the rest of the draft.
Yeah, I'm with Sterling. I definitely think the edge is the most glaring need there, and there's some players there that they can certainly get into that bucket there.
All right,
for me, it's wide receiver. I just think we need some stability, and there are plenty of guys you can get at pick 40, pick 100, something that can provide you stability.
I'm with you. Give me wide receiver. I still got my eye on Denzel Boston. I know Price doesn't love him for the fit with the Chiefs, but we will see. We will see.
Your guy.
Yeah, we will see. Guys, this has been awesome. Thank you to everybody, producers Hunter, Joanne, for getting us set up here, going back from studio to studio, keeping things moving. We peaked at over 400 users out there. Thank you to all of our members who have been supporting us in the chat, the super chats, the positive vibes, the negative vibes. We love it all. That's why we're here. We're all just Chiefs fans and, trying to go on this journey together. Thank you to the blog father, Adam Best. He's the reason we're all here. Sterling Holmes, the best mustache and the smoothest voice and the hardest working man in Kansas City radio.
Come on, man.
Best mustache. I don't know,
What?
man. Let's at least have a conversation about it.
I think it's a
me. You all copied me. Let's be real. I had it first.
You know what happened? You did a bet with me for Sky Moore, and then I came on the podcast with the mustache, and you're like, "Oh shit, I created a monster."
I had it first, and then Kelsey grew one out, and then you guys copied me. It's not my fault that you see this and said, "Wow, I want to copy that guy."
Listen, I did say, for the record, I did say the best mustache in Kansas City. So, Adam, you don't qualify. Okay. All right.
Well, I mean, Christian's pretty impressive over here too.
Thank you. I needed my flowers. Yeah, I'm also Colombian, I guess.
We got the three amigos.
I need to shave mine now.
If I grow mine out, just my mustache, I'll be put on a neighborhood watch list. So I'm not going to do that. I appreciate everybody. Of course, Christian and Price, the Intangibles, will be back tomorrow to break down the second round for you. And you need to be over at arrowheadaddict.com, reading Matt Connor and the rest of the gang over there. We're going to have all the fallout and all the reaction, not just tonight, but all through the day tomorrow. We will see you guys tomorrow night right back here on the Arrowhead Addict YouTube channel. But for Adam Best, Christian Ainsworth, Bryce Carter, Sterling Holmes, producer Joanne, producer Hunter. I'm Patrick Allen. See you tomorrow. But until then, as always, go Chiefs.